On
Federal
Bill
Gun Control
C-21.
Legislation, which is ER04. Celui-ci est le deuxième.
This
Le
is the
troisième
second.
projet de résolution,
The
s'il est prêt à ce moment où on sera rendu là, ce sera le projet de résolution 19 et 20 qui concerne le long-term reform, donc la réforme à long terme et le principe de Jordan, donc toutes les parties qui avaient produit le projet de résolution 19 et celui le numéro 20 ont aussi travaillé très fort pour arriver à présenter un seul projet de résolution qui va faciliter aussi le travail de tout le monde. Alors un peu comme hier, les projets de résolution 16 et 17. Et ensuite, nous allons aborder le projet de résolution 3 d'urgence. I'm just going to ask if you can please. I won't tell you not to have discussion, but if you could please have your discussions outside, it would be really appreciated, or just keep it maybe a bit low because I'm starting not to have a good voice and it's only 10 something, so that's not good. We want to do business, deal with resolution, so we need to be alive and kicking and having a strong voice. So please help me. Merci. Alors, la résolution d'urgence numéro 3 sera la quatrième de ce que l'on fera, et celle-ci concerne le Rejection of Saskatchewan First Act and Sovereign Alberta within the United Canada Act. So, ça, c'est l'ordre des projets de résolution qu'on va faire.
This is the order of draft resolutions.
Mais on va adresser l'agenda, donc je voulais juste que ceux qui sont proposeurs et coproposeurs de ces résolutions sachent ce qu'on va faire dans les prochaines heures aujourd'hui. Alors, aujourd'hui, nous allons avoir plusieurs invités. Nous allons avoir Jagmeet Singh, le leader du parti New Democratic Party. Des fois, j'ai de la misère avec une fois que je suis en anglais, j'ai de la misère avec le français, mais c'est le NPD en français. Alors, nous allons avoir aussi Pierre Poilievre qui va venir avec un vidéo, donc ce sera un court vidéo. Il y aura à 1h David Lametti,
the Minister of Justice, and we will also have the Minister of SAC, SC, Patty Hadu, 3:30, Mark Miller, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, and we will receive Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Justin Trudeau, at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And we hope to have a closing ceremony. We hope to have National Chief Archibald offer some closing words at 4:30. I don't know if we have more chiefs and representatives right now, but it gives you an idea. And we will also have sign language interpretation. We'll have some teaching about sign language as we had the first day. I'll ask Adam to offer a brief summary in English.
Ask for maybe Dennis, once you know how many chiefs and proxies are present, to make sure that we have enough, maybe you can come and let us know. Thank you very much. Have a very good last and final third day of this annual Assembly of Chiefs. So have a very, very good and productive day. Thank you.
Miigwech, thank you to my colleague Weena. Good morning, everybody. Dennis, just give me a minute. Don't start yet. Give me about 3 minutes. So we will.
I'm not asking for the count.
Yeah.
I was not asking.
Yeah, we're not asking for the count yet. But good morning. Good morning, chiefs, delegates. I hope you had a good rest. I know we went very late yesterday. It was probably almost 8 p.m. by the time we wrapped up. I'd like to really commend chiefs for all your hard work and your commitment to put in the extra effort yesterday and get the important decisions made and the work that was done yesterday. I'd like to acknowledge the Assembly and say miigwech for all your hard work. We're just going through some administrative matters, going through the agenda for today very quickly. And I do see microphone 2, so I'll just go through this and then I will go to microphone 2. We do have a very packed agenda. We have many resolutions to deal with. And so we just wanted to go through very quickly the agenda for today. This morning, fairly quickly, we will be going to the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, as well a presentation with the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre, Poilievre. We will have one block of resolutions for 1 hour. That is scheduled to start at 11:15, and one block of resolutions. So we're looking at the omnibus resolution. We discussed that, try to deal with as many resolutions as we can. There are 10 resolutions dealing with Indian residential schools, and again, that is an omnibus resolution. We also have another resolution that should be ready shortly, based on discussions from last night and this morning. That's dealing with, again, children and families, looking at draft resolutions 19 and 20. That is another resolution that needs to be dealt with. That may not be dealt with in time during that 1 hour block, so that may happen at 1:30. So again, that is a 1 hour block. We do have a lunch break scheduled. Again, we've allocated 1 hour, but we'll take into considerations from the floor how to proceed with that 1 hour break in light of the fact that we have many resolutions we'd like to deal with. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, we have the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of Canada. At 1 p.m., Minister Lametti. And then we have another 1 hour block for resolutions. At that point, it is envisioned we will deal with draft resolutions 19 and 20. Another resolution that is, when I go back to the resolutions at 11 o'clock, there's the omnibus resolution and then emergency resolution number 4 that's dealing with Bill C-21. So that'll be this morning. So this afternoon, we're looking at, again, draft resolutions 19 and 20, and then emergency resolution number 3. That's the rejection of the Saskatchewan First Act, as well as the Sovereign Alberta Act. So those are the first items. Again, we are to deal with emergency resolutions first, and those are the order that we will be looking at those. Based on time, we don't have a lot of time for resolutions. At 3 o'clock, I'm going to go back again. At 2:30, we've inserted yesterday. At 5:30, we were to have Minister Mendicino, who was on the agenda yesterday for 5:30. Of course, we had the presentation that was very important. So the Minister of Public Safety Canada will be here at 2:30 for 15 minutes. We'll have to take a 15-minute break to prepare for the Prime Minister coming in. Security will be here at the front, and they require a 15-minute security sweep. So we'll take a 15-minute break at that time. And then we'll have the Minister of Indigenous Services, Patty Haidu, at 3 o'clock. At 3:30, we'll have the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, Mark Miller. And then at 4 p.m., we'll have Prime Minister Trudeau here for 30 minutes. And then at 4:30, we'll have closing remarks with the National Chief, Roseanne Archibald, and then we'll start having the closing ceremonies. So that's a quick recap of the agenda for today. We have many, many resolutions that we wanted to deal with, so we'd like to get started as soon as we can. Let's get right into business, a number of things that we need to deal with, and then we'll move forward from there. So just a quick announcement and some housekeeping. So at this point, we will be checking for quorum, so we will have a team that is around the room determining the number of chiefs in the room and the number of chiefs that are online on the Zoom session. So we will do that count now, and we will announce the number within a half hour, the number to determine quorum for the Assembly for today. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague Weena. We have some agenda items that we need to get right into. I do see a lineup at number 2. Number 2 and then number 1. I see a large group. I can't tell if those are chiefs, so it doesn't look like it. So again, we're trying to get through things as quickly as we can. We'd like to get right into it as soon as we can so that we can do as much as we can. Microphone 2, go ahead.
Miigwech, Bonjour. Bonjour, and Denawe Magnituk, Sakachwe, Indigo, Bijou Totem, Kuching Donji. I'm Brian Perro, Chief of Kuching First Nation in the Treaty 3 territory. And I am here, I want to give a little bit of time for a spokesperson from these young people behind me. Just a little bit of, I'm going to call up Kieran Davis. He's one of our Treaty 3 members. And in Treaty 3, we have a number of councils that we form part of our governance in Treaty 3. We've got an Elders Council, we've got a Women's Council, a Men's Council, a Youth Council, and a couple of years ago, there's a group that felt almost left out. And so Treaty 3 and the chiefs in Treaty 3, we have formed a Two-Spirit Council for Treaty 3. And we've had, since that time, celebrations. We have an annual Two-Spirit powwow for them and come out and support them. And I'm going to, as a Chief of Kuching and Treaty 3, I'm going to ask a bit of time be given to Kieran Davis, who is on that Treaty 3 Two-Spirit Council, and the young people standing behind him are there for support. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Chief Perot will recognize Kieran Davis. Be mindful of the time, please. It is up on the screen.
Nijo Gabo, Nindijnikas, Tik Nindodam, Abushkoke Nindoji. My name is Kieran Davis. I'm a member of the Ontario First Nations Young People's Council and the 2S LGBTQ QIA+ Council for Treaty 3. This is the first time I've attended AFN, and I can't help say I don't feel safe. We need more gender diverse voices present, and we need to open our doors and minds to allow us to feel safe here. It's one thing posting signs and posters saying this is a safe space, but really, when I walk into that bathroom in my ribbon skirt yesterday, I got looks and reactions like I shouldn't be in there. I shouldn't have to feel like I have to walk across the street to my hotel to use my private bathroom in my hotel room. I should feel safe here. When I walked through that trade show in my skirt and walked through this room, I felt and saw all the uncomfortable looks, and I feel your judgment. Before the assembly, I contemplated wearing my skirt. I was scared of the reaction that I would get. But back home, they do Ribbon Skirt Wednesday, and when I wear it, I am home. We have to normalize and accept gender diversity in all spaces. We're too quick to judge based on gender identity and expression. Get used to our presence. I'm here and I'm visible. When the topic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is brought up, we cannot forget to include Two-Spirit peoples as well. It's unsafe for us out there too, but the amount of violence we face is so underreported and not talked about. And what are we doing about it? Nearly 3 weeks ago, there was a shooting in a gay club in Colorado, but we don't talk about that. We can't even go out and celebrate ourselves in public without that fear of what someone's hatred might do to us. My sisters, brothers, and siblings fight every day just to feel free to be themselves. But even then, even when we feel okay to do so, we're not always safe to be ourselves. We can say we support Two-Spirit queer peoples all we want, but really, what is your region doing to provide that support? Where's the other Two-Spirit councils? Why aren't we pushing to bring more Two-Spirit voices and Two-Spirit peoples to leadership? Where's the National Two-Spirit Council that was promised? Why isn't there a pride flag in their flag ceremony? There's so much work that needs to be done to support our Two-Spirit LGBTQ 2++ people, and the gender-based violence needs to end, and it starts in this room and every room you enter next. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Thank you very much, Kieran Davis, for that presentation. Miigwech. And I just want to make a quick announcement as well that the 2SL Plus Council is meeting at lunch at the Shaw Centre, room 203. Lunch will be served, and any 2SL can join the lunch happening today. So miigwech. Our next speaker is ready, so we'd like to proceed to that. So I'll go to one more microphone. One, it looks like Chief Cookpee Wilson.
Thank you, and I just wanted to thank our youth there for speaking out on our gender diverse and more inclusivity. I certainly 100% and more support that inclusivity. We talked about that the last few days, being more inclusive. So all the recommendations I heard from Karen Davis should be implemented and supported. Thank you. But I just, speaking on Resolution 19 and 20 from yesterday, I just wanted to let you know that we did come to a consensus. I think many of the technicians and many of the people with Justice Sinclair and Cindy Blackstock and AFN and with the Caring Society and the technicians from BC AFN, UBCIC and AFN, we did come to a consensus document. And I understand it is ready, so my request is that it is before noon. Many chiefs are traveling and many chiefs, wanted to be able to deal with it right away. So not wait till 1 or 1:30, noon or right at noon or something like that, if that's the best spot for it. I know the document will be handed out for everyone to review prior to that. And again, just thanks to everyone that was involved in the deliberations and the processes. They were very respectful, and everyone was able to comment on the issues and work through them. So all of the movers and seconders were in the room. And so I'll be moving that resolution, and Chief Kevin Hart will be seconding it. Thank you.
Miigwech. Thank you, Cookpee Wilson. Cookpee Wilson, if you can back to the mic, a question. We do have the resolutions we're dealing with from 11:15 until 12 o'clock. They are different resolutions. But one option is we do have a 1 hour break scheduled. It's not for me to ask you, chiefs, to forego your lunch, but I don't know if that's something that you'd like to recommend.
Right at noon would be great. It wouldn't take very long. We reached consensus. I'd like the chiefs to be able to have time to read it, and I think it's a good combination, a good way forward, as we did yesterday. If we can continue that unity today, that would be really great. And I think it's a solid document now that we can provide for our children. And I still have Spirit Bear over there witnessing everything, so I'm really hoping we can get through this. Thank you. So at noon, please, chiefs.
Thank you. So at this point, we've closed the speakers list for right now. So apologies, microphone 1. We have closed the speakers list. Our next presenter is ready to go. But we will have an opportunity again moving forward this morning. So at this point, I believe what time is it? 10:37.
Yes, until 11.
So at this point, I'd like to call upon our next guest, who has until 11 o'clock, and he had been allocated a half hour. But I'd like to introduce the leader of the national NDP party, Jagmeet Singh, to come and address the Assembly. Yes, yes.
No problem, no problem. Thank you so much. I want you to know that I'm cutting my speech short so I can leave some time for questions, because questions are important for me. I wanted you to have the chance to ask questions, so I'll try to keep my speech a little shorter to keep some more time open. It's an incredible honor to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I want to acknowledge that we're on the unceded territories of the Anishinaabe Algonquin, and every time I acknowledge the territories, for me, it's a practice for me to remember that the first people of this land have faced injustice, continue to face injustice, and when I remember the lands and do the land acknowledgement, it's a time for me personally to commit myself to fighting for justice for the first people of this land. So every time I do that, I always remember. I want to specifically thank some of the people here. I want to thank, of course, the National Chief, Roseanne Archibald, for her leadership and our relationship in terms of being able to communicate. Your National Chief is always reaching out and letting me know about issues, so I appreciate that very deeply, and thank you specifically to the National Chief, who's here, or just a second ago. I want to thank the elders for your wisdom. I was speaking with an elder who was talking about his experience with treaty rights, his experience with fighting for his community, and just it's so important to always remember the wisdom and the teachings of our elders. I want to appreciate the youth who are not just the future, they're the present, but there's many youth in strong leadership roles. I want to acknowledge and thank the youth. I want to thank the veterans that are here today as well. And of course, I want to thank the chiefs for your leadership. It's tough work being a leader and having the responsibility on your shoulders for your community. I want to thank you all. Being chiefs is an incredibly important role. Thank you. And I also want to thank the survivors that are here today, the survivors of residential schools, for the gifts that they're bringing, for their resilience, for their courage, for their bravery, and for a reminder of the work that we need to do to make things right. Merci, c'est vraiment un honneur d'être.
Thank you. It's very much an honor to be here today. I'm so grateful. For me, it's an honor to have the opportunity to share a few words today.
You a story that my mom taught me, and it gives you a bit of the reason why I fight the way I fight, and the way I raise issues, and the way I want to be an ally to you. As a little kid, my mom would always say to me that we are all one. And I always found that hard to understand. I'm saying, but we speak different languages, we look different, we come from different places. She said, that's all beautiful, that's all great, but we are all one. And she would always say that to me. And as I got older, I finally realized how true that is, that we are all one. If we are seeing anyone around us facing injustice, we're facing it. And if we help the people around us, we all rise. And that's something that really drives me, this idea that we are all one. That shared connection, the idea that we are connected that way. I also, someone mentioned, you're a friend to the Indigenous community, you're a fighter for us. And I said, well, it's all in the name. And they say, what do you mean? My name, Jagmeet Nindijinegas, which I hope is OG Cree for my name is Jagmeet. So what Saul told me in the back. So if I said something bad, you got to blame Saul. It's always risky. Saul Momaka, who's the member of parliament, it's always risky when someone teaches you a language because they might be telling you to say really inappropriate things. So I hope that was okay. Any OG Cree speakers, just give me a thumbs up or a wave if that was okay. Okay, I was good. Okay, your OG Cree, okay. Phew, I was nervous. That's good though. My name, as I got to give credit to Vice Chief David Pratt, who was reminding people it's Jagmeet, not Jagmeet. He's right, it is Jagmeet. And it actually means in my language, my parents named me, I think, with a vision in their mind. Jug means world, like the world that we live in, the world around us. And meet means friend. So Jagmeet means friend to the world. So it's my job. I have to do this. It's not a choice. My name means I'm a friend to the world. So I have to be your friend and continue to fight with you and fight for you alongside with you. In the last election, we made a commitment to you that we were going to fight to make sure we built a better future. And I want you to know you can continue to count on us. I want to give a shout out to some of the great people on our team. And then I'll wrap up with a couple of final comments. On our team, we've got great Indigenous leaders that are playing a very strong role. Laurie Idlout is an Inuk woman who represents the riding of Nunavut. She's our critic for Indigenous Services, Northern Affairs, and Crown Indigenous Relations. She's a strong voice. She is an Inuktitut speaker. She speaks her language, and because of that, she is fighting to make sure languages are protected and that at the federal level, we're doing more to protect languages. She also pushed hard on a bill to make sure that public sector workers, public servants, are able to get a bonus for being an Indigenous language speaker. Right now, the bonus is if you're bilingual, French and English, but she pushed to say that it should also include Indigenous languages, recognizing that that should also receive extra compensation as a recognition. She's been fighting for healthcare that's culturally appropriate, acknowledging that for many Indigenous communities, as you know, you got to go so far to get good healthcare, and that puts a lot of burden on families, a lot of financial burden, and it's so hard to be away from your loved ones while you're trying to get healthy and get better. We believe that people should be able to get care whenever they need it, wherever they need it. So we're pushing to make it easier to get more help by including traditional healing and included in the NHIB and improving the NHIB so it works properly for Indigenous communities. It's not so difficult and it's not so onerous to go through. We also want to make sure we implement Joyce's principle, because we know in our healthcare system there is systemic discrimination, and it should not be that just because someone is Indigenous or someone gets less than the best quality of care possible. So the Joyce principle has to be implemented. And I want to work with the AFN to identify any other gaps that you think are there so we can fix them. I want to give a shout out that alongside Laurie Idlout, who's our critic, Nikki Ashton from Northern Manitoba has been working to challenge the problems in Nutrition North and find ways to make food more affordable, and talking about food and housing for northern, rural, and remote communities. We're also really pushing for climate change supports. We know that with climate crisis, it's impacting Indigenous communities, your communities. You're seeing it, and we need to make sure that their supports are in place to make sure that we are dealing with some of the things that are happening, preventing the changes, but also being better prepared for when those extreme weather happens. We need to make sure communities are ready for it. So we know that you have been guardians of the land since time immemorial. You know the best ways to care for the land, and we need to listen to your guidance on that. We know that for a lot of communities, there's flood issues, and we need to put in place better infrastructure to deal with the floods and make sure communities are resilient. I also want to mention, I was chatting with National Chief, one issue came up that she wanted me to touch on that I wanted to make sure that you heard from me. I know that folks have been seeing a lot about Bill 21, and on that bill, I want you to know that any amendment, and right now there's an amendment that has the risk of doing this, any amendment that in any way contravenes your treaty rights is an amendment that we will not support. We obviously want to keep our community safe, but we will protect treaty rights. And I should say in general, we strongly believe in treaty rights and inherent rights, and protecting and upholding those are fundamental. So that's something that stands generally and specifically as it applies to Bill C-21. I want to also shout out Charlie Angus, who's also fighting, as you know, for child welfare, for clean drinking water. And we believe as a team that we need to make sure that there is long-term, predictable, and stable funding so that we can have good water infrastructure, the training, and the operations to keep it in a good condition. So that's really important. I want to, final shout out from our team, I want to talk about Leah Gazan's work. I'm really proud to have Leah Gazan on the team, and she has been a really strong voice. First of all, we were able to get, with her leadership, we were able to get a motion in the House of Commons to finally recognize officially that residential schools were genocide. This is an important recognition that was done. We have an obligation. If we want to do our job right, elected officials have to be able to speak truth. And to speak truth is the only path forward for achieving justice. And so that's really important. I want to lift up and honor survivors and families and communities across this country who have sacrificed so much, and acknowledge you and say this is just one small but important step. We know so much more is needed, but the first step in healing is to acknowledge that there was a harm that was done, and we have proudly been able to take that first step. We also I want to just raise a really also heartbreaking situation in Manitoba, in Winnipeg. I want us to, I know you know this, and it's not something for you, but I want the media listening to never forget the names, because we're seeing that violence and genocide against Indigenous women is ongoing. It is not stopped, and we have to end it. And so I want to remember the names: Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, Rebecca Contois, and Buffalo Woman. These are 4 women that were killed as a result of ongoing genocide against Indigenous women, and we must end that violence. We must stand up for Indigenous women, and we must put an end finally and firmly to any sort of ongoing violence against Indigenous women. What is particularly concerning and what left me really appalled, like I was angry, so angry hearing this, is that Indigenous people should not have to plead or beg the police or elected officials to do their job. They should just do it. And the fact that you have to demand that these people that are in positions of power do their job just really highlights that they don't value Indigenous lives. So that's really hurtful and really wrong. As a result, we said we need to have an emergency debate on this issue. It's so important. So we pushed for, and Leah was the leader on pushing for an emergency debate on the horrific incident out of Winnipeg. We got that debate yesterday, last night, and we were laying out the actions that need to be done, implementing all of the calls for justice for the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Two-Spirit is a clear path forward. We need to do that. We also raised, thank you. We also raised that the government, the Liberal government allocated hundreds of millions of dollars for shelters for Indigenous women and girls, but didn't spend the money that was allocated. And we think it's wrong. If you're allocating the money, it's got to be spent to keep Indigenous women and girls safe. And so Leah Gazan has raised that numerous times, and it's something we're going to continue to fight for. I want you to know in general that I want to be an ally. I want to amplify your voice. You have the solutions. I want to take your concerns and your voice and amplify it and push the federal government to act and to take action, to do what's needed to make sure Indigenous communities get the respect and dignity that they deserve. And First Nations-led solutions is really important for me, and making sure we deal with healthcare issues, access to education, transportation, cell phone services, all this in a way that's culturally appropriate and is essential in making sure that First Nations women and girls are safe, and this is something that we're going to fight for the next budget. I want to just, last acknowledgements of my team and then a final wrap-up. Blake Desjardins plays a really big part of our team. He is Métis, he's a fluent Cree speaker, and he's our vice chair in our team. He's a member of parliament elected out of Edmonton. Then a number of other people that fight hard for their local Indigenous communities, Carol Hughes, Rachel Blaney, and Taylor Backrack. And my last wrap-up here is that my team has fought for you and will continue to fight for you. I want you to know that we take treaty rights and inherent rights very seriously, and you can count on me to follow through on that work with making sure you receive the fundamental services that you need. That fundamental services are enshrined as human rights in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. And that includes the right to clean drinking water by making sure we lift all boil water advisories and make sure water is clean. We need to make sure that Indigenous communities are protected from climate crises and from the impacts of extreme weather. We need to make sure First Nations have control over education and access to appropriate learning, cultural learning. Again, healthcare and midwifery services are vital. We need to make sure there's a guaranteed livable basic income that shows that Indigenous communities can have respect and dignity with the ability to be able to provide what they need for their families. We need to fight for a brighter future, and I just want you to know that that's something really important to me and my team. We showed up today to show that this is a commitment and that it's something that we take very seriously. Je veux encore dire que nous sommes...
I also want to say that we are here for you.
Consider me an ally, someone that wants to be a fighter along your side for justice and fairness for Indigenous people. It's my commitment to you as leader, and I'll continue to do that now as the leader and in the future as your next Prime Minister. I'm here for you. I got your back. Thank you.
I'll open it up for questions.
Yes. Yeah.
Miigwech, thank you. Jagmeet Singh. So, Chiefs, with respect, we have a hard stop with Jagmeet Singh at 11 o'clock, so we don't have a lot of time, less than 10 minutes. But what we will do, again, with respect, Chiefs, the order is microphone 1, 2, 3, back to 1, 2, 3. At 11 o'clock, apologies, but I will have to close the speakers that are at the microphones. With that, and please follow the time, microphone number 1, no more than 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Morning. Good morning. Raskuman. Sit by Mateo, Pissimasinika Swan. Ogemao, Sapatea Cree Nation. I acknowledge you I wear 3 titles of job duty, I guess. I'm chief of my community, Sabatea Cree Nation. I'm also the Grand Chief of the Swampy Cree Tribal Council. I'm also the President of the Manitoba Treaty Land Entitlement Committee of Manitoba. And I just want to deliver a message, you know. It sounds like a broken record over and over again. Somebody comes here and says, this is what I want to do. Could I do it? And one thing I would like to instill is honor of the Crown. You know, the Crown, when they came here, it's only a death of a plow. So when we talk about resources, our land, I've been fighting Canada through TLE court system, through federal court for 11 years. And they gave us a bronze coin to remind my leadership of what it is that they're supposed to do. And that was a handshake. So I'd like to give you my 2 cents, you know, my 2 cents of treaties. They're very unfair. When is the honor of the Crown going to happen? And when are we going to get our land back? You know, simple as that. So give us that, and maybe it'll deliver something. We could do economic development. We could live off the land like our old people used to, and be healthy and free. Right now, we're prisoners of Canada. It seemed like when the 1950s, asked permission to come out of reserve. That's how I feel like when I have to come out of my community. I feel like I'm a newcomer to Ottawa. So I'd like to remind you, you know, where's the honor of the Crown? When is it going to happen? If you can, please talk to Justin and say, give us our land back, inquire with the ministers. They know the file, and I've been waiting. It's very unfortunate. It's very fortunate I still have black hair. You know, I have a lot of my colleagues have the wisdom, talking 30 years, 40 years, you know. I'm going 23 years myself. And it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't. So I like to say that, you know, pass on the message. And hopefully that when he does come and speak here, that he'll have that message beforehand, not after.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, I'll certainly pass on the message now, but I hope by the next election you can just talk directly to the Prime Minister, and that'll be me. And then I'll get this done for you.
Microphone number 2. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is James Marlowe. I come from Tlutsuke, Northwest Territories. I come all the way from there to here to ask you for support for the things that are happening in our homeland. You know, in September, we as treaty Indians were a whole bunch of families were out hunting and practicing a way of life that's have been going on for generations. We come from an area of hunting, fishing, and trapping. While we're out there, the government of Northwest Territories Environmental Environmental Resources ENR Department or Wildlife Department came in and raided our camp. We had an amount of 80 people in the camp. They came in. They said, you guys went hunting for caribou, and they take pieces for DNA, and for evidence. They searched the whole cultural camp. And then after that, they had a search warrant. And after that, we went to court, and that search warrant was thrown out. And we asked the minister of ENR department to apologize and fix this thing and reconcile, you know, to say sorry to our people. But he's not acknowledging it. And that's an offense to me. This raid affects treaty Indians, Aboriginal rights, all kinds of people, a lot of people within Canada. So I'm here seeking your support to see if you can help us. You know, it's just like the 60s scoop. Plane comes, take away people. There was elders, children, women, hunters, and trappers there. It was embarrassing. Not only that, we had international visitors we hosted. So this thing is like a global issue. So I'm asking you for support. And I don't know if you remember me. I taught you a few words in my language, which is a Denison Clinet language, a Chippewan. When you were running for a leadership debate I came all the way from my First Nation to Ottawa to interpret for you at you, Justin, and the crew at the national televised debate. So I'm seeking support from you to see if you can help us push this issue for the government of Northwest Territories to apologize to our people that they raided, practicing their way of life. Marcy Cho.
Marcy Cho. Thank you very much, Chief. And that sounds horrible, that you be raided just exercising your rights, practicing your way of life. And the fact that the warrant was thrown out in your case shows that they were wrong to do that. And they should be apologizing. You know, when anytime someone makes a mistake, they should apologize for it. So I'll follow up, hopefully, with you and your team about how we can help out. Thank you.
Take one more? Yeah. So it's 10:59. Nobody on microphone 3. So last speaker, microphone number 1. Go ahead.
Okay, Miguch, Chief Punias, Niskandaga First Nation. Good morning, Jagmeet. I know you visited our community when there was an election time. So we're still dealing with the same situation in our community. I came in yesterday from my community, and the dire situation that our people are facing today. We had to bury an 18-year-old who took her own life a couple days ago. And those are the conditions that our people are facing in our community right now. You gave us support. You gave us a lot of things when you came into the community. And we need those supports in our community to advance what we need in our community, the quality of life. We always talk about the equality of our people. That equality is not present in my community of Niskandaga. We have people that are living in two-bedroom houses, maybe 13 people. Those are things that are real. They're real in our community. We're losing our young ones to suicide. We're losing our young ones because of mental health issues. These are real issues that we're talking about. When we're talking about the lands, what they're trying to do to our lands, Mata nations, for example, are being asked to make a decision on our lands to access the Ring of Fire. And yet there's discussions happening, whether if it's at this level or at the Ontario region or even in governments. Our decision, for example, has not been made by our communities. We have not provided our free, prior, informed consent on those developments. We're going to need your support on that. We're going to need your support because it's important for our people to have a say what's going to happen in our traditional lands, what's going to happen in our traditional areas, where we harvest our moose, where we harvest our sturgeon is very important. The lands that were taken away from us, we all know they're stolen lands. They're not lands of the government. They're lands of our people. So we will need our support, and and we hope to have you in our community because we're still dealing with those issues. Over 10,000 days of being on boil water advisory are still happening in our communities, still happening in Niskandaga. So I just wanted to say miigwech and thank you for the opportunity for giving me to speak. Miigwech, thank you.
Miigwech. Thank you so much, Chief, and we were really honored to be welcomed in the community and to try to bring the national media attention to the water crisis in Niskandaga. This is a community, as you all know, that has had the longest boil water advisory in Canada in terms of how long it's been lasting. And then on top of the water crisis, the housing crisis, as Chief Mooney has outlined, all very serious, and the impacts are obviously real. When you've got clean water issues or no clean water, housing issues, it's going to have an impact on mental health. It's going to have an impact on the youth. And it's horrible and tragic that you had to bury a young person. These deaths should never happen, and they're happening because of all the trauma and the unsafe conditions. And this is the responsibility to the federal government. So I will obviously continue to fight for you, and take back your message. Thank you very much. Miigwech. And thank you again for the honor of being here. I'm sorry I didn't have more time. We had to fit within the schedule. We were given 30 minutes, so wanted to honor that. And thank you again for all the work you do and for the questions today. Thank you. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Jagmeet, we have a series of gifts for you, some of our sacred foods to feed your spirit. Miigwech.
Thank you. Thank you. Honored. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you very much, Jagmeet Singh. Miigwech. Just to note, we do have numbers for quorum. We've gone through the process to determine how many were in the room, in the assembly room, as well as how many were joining virtually. The total number that we had at the time of confirming our registrants in the room was 132. And of course, quorum to maintain business and make decisions is 67. So that will be the number to continue with business for today, 67. So with that, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Weena, for the next items.
Thank you, Adam. And Miigwech to Jagmeet Singh. Okay, so now let's deal with something very, very important and interesting and interactive. Because we didn't have time yesterday to deal with that, to not deal, but it's not maybe the appropriate word, but to have a special time for this. But I think we all think it's important, and we promise to have that. So we will now have a short but really interesting interactive sign language session in ASL and LSQ. ASL means American Sign Language, and LSQ is for the Quebec, Langue des Signes Québécois. So I'm gonna now invite Marsha Ireland to come and join us. She's from the Oneida Nation. We all know her by now, I think. So she's our champion and the specialist for the Oneida Sign Language and ASL and LSQ. Thank you very, very much. So I turn the floor over to Marsha. Thank you, Marsha.
Sugoli. Oh. Beside you? Sugoli. Sugoli. On the left, everybody remembers the left arm, Sugoli. When you're using your right hand, so we say good. So I'm just going to show you the different ways we say good morning. So in Oneida, the right hand, and then you're lifting up the sun. So good morning. In ASL, this looks like this. So out from your chin, good. Good morning. So in Oneida, it's good morning. You can see the sun rising up to noon, midday. In ASL, we'd say good noon. You would put your hand in a similar position, but your hand shape would be a little bit different. So good, in an LSQ, you would indicate that it's 12 o'clock. And then good evening is the sun, so Sugoli, or it's good, and then the sun coming down. In ASL, again, it would be the good from your chin, and then your hand over the other hand for good evening. In LSQ, as well, good evening. So I'm going to do OSL again. Is the sun going down? You actually see the sun going down. I'm going to review for you the different ways that we sign thank you across our nations. In Oneida, Yonko. In ASL, thank you. In LSQ, also thank you. Or, yeah, thank you. Miigwech. Miigwech. Is your hand closed on your chest? In the West Coast, there's a variety of ways to say thank you, but often we will see the hands raised up high in the west end of our nation, western nations. And with that, I say Yonko. Oh, one more. And remember, we applaud by shaking our hands. Thank you. Yonko.
Thank you very, very, very much to Marsha and Debbie Parliament and all their team also. It's very, very appreciated. Thank you very much. And we thank you for your comprehension that we didn't have time yesterday to do so. Okay, now I'm gonna acknowledge only one speaker this time. One microphone, one, please.
Thank you.
3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take less than a minute. Just a request to Madam Chair and the co-chair. The residential school resolutions was supposed to be done on day one. So I'd like to request that we put them on the agenda, not 3, 4 o'clock. This happens every assembly, and this is why the file is where it's at today. So please, the St. Anne's issue.
Thank you so much.
The outstanding issues across the country.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You read our minds. I don't know if you have a magic trick to do that, but maybe Mentalist or I don't know. But I confirm and assure you that we're dealing with this first thing after 8 things. No, I'm kidding. We're dealing with that really, really soon. I just have 2 announcements, two short videos that we need to do, and the first resolutions that we'll deal with is the omnibus on Indian residential schools and survivors. So thank you to point this out because it's very important. Thank you so much, Chief. So first thing, let's we want to acknowledge our sponsor, and we have a video to show. The video is from Boehringer and Ingelheim. Not sure if I have a big accent, but this is the best I can do. So 4 minutes video, and then I'll come back. Thank you.
We're the ones that have to look after our citizens. We're the ones that know what is needed. So making sure that our people have access to health care makes it very difficult. People want to be able to get health care and be respected. And so if they feel they're not being listened to or respected by their doctor, they don't vote.
Many of the New Childhood nations are remote access, so you need to take a float plane or water taxi into some of these communities. This means that often healthcare services, including diabetes educators, nurses, physicians, aren't able to access the communities as frequently as the urban population. I find that empowering community members with the knowledge on how to adjust their own insulin has made such a big difference in their overall blood sugar management. Just by having that little bit of knowledge, their overall management of their diabetes has changed drastically.
We really need better access to health. You know, our health system as it is does not serve our people very well.
Our vision for diabetes support in all the New Childhood nations is offering every person living with diabetes who would like it access to an endocrinologist or diabetes specialty services.
Started in 2018 when Chief Isidore Day and I met.
Thank you very much. Yep. Okay, now, just before we will deal with the omnibus on Indian residential school survivors, we will present a short video of our guest speaker, Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party. If we can put the video up on the screen, please. Thank you.
Hello. It's an honor to be able to address the Assembly of First Nations today as you discuss issues facing your communities across Canada. And thank you to Chief Archibald for giving me the chance to share my thoughts I've developed after listening to First Nations people across the country. But I'm still learning, and I have a lot more to learn from you, so my door is always open. But from what I've heard so far, I can't help but feel a sense of optimism for the real opportunity that we can work together. And look, I understand that there are a lot of wrongs to right, whether the horrors of the residential school system or the ongoing injustices of failure to deliver clean drinking water or adequate housing. These are all issues that have to be solved, and we have to work together to make it happen. I've been clear since becoming leader that my goal is to empower Canadians. I believe that bureaucratic busybodies and politicians in Ottawa should not be dictating how people exercise their rights and freedoms and that live their lives. Ottawa needs to focus on empowering First Nations, not standing in their way. In saying this, I'm reminded of the words of Chief Joseph, who said, "Let me be a free man, free to travel, free to stop, free to work, free to trade where I choose, free to choose my own teachers, free to follow the religion of my fathers, free to talk, think, and act for myself." Now, I recognize that this is something that will look very different for each First Nation across this country. Your freedoms include the freedoms to live out your lives as First Nations people, determining your own futures and exercising your own unique rights that existed for millennia before the creation of Canada, rights that are affirmed in treaties and protected by the Constitution. Right now, the government is simply going through the motions, making promises with no real plan to deliver results. We see First Nations continuing to live in communities that lack clean drinking water or adequate housing, and where people live in systemic poverty. I'll end this cycle and return control to First Nations communities and their leaders across this country. I'll give you back control of your revenues, the ones that you generate in your communities, and I'll end Ottawa's policy of siphoning off income earned by First Nations communities themselves. I'll remove federal government hurdles that First Nations communities face when it comes to building and investing in commercial projects or when applying for funds from Ottawa. I'll work with you to ensure that we protect the environment and respect First Nations as the best environmental stewards that we have. And I'll work with you to find ways to truly empower each and every First Nation to achieve your economic potential. I believe in economic reconciliation, and I believe First Nations should be leading players in our national economy. And that means being not just consulted, but included in meaningful ways on all matters that affect your nations. I also believe that you should be the principal beneficiary of natural resource projects that happen in your lands and territories. We've all seen and heard about the success stories of First Nations who have been able to take control of their economic destinies. They've raised money, started businesses, employed their people, and been able to generate opportunities that pay dividends for many generations to come. I want to work with you and replicate those success stories by tearing down the federal government barriers that First Nations people and communities face. I want to make it easier for your communities to get out from under the paternalistic Indian Act where you so choose. You have the thousands of years of history, the local knowledge of land and people, and the wisdom to decide for yourselves. In closing, I want to reiterate my goal: to stand beside you and work to build a true nation-to-nation relationship, to truly empower First Nations across this country and unlock the potential that we know that you can all achieve by taking control of your futures. So let's go forward and build that relationship together. I look forward to many more days of listening and learning so that we can achieve these goals. Thank you.
Hello again. Oh, not to me though. Oh, thank you. I love you too. Okay, so now let's do business. Microphone number one, before I introduce the bundle on Indian residential school survivors and justice reconciliation. So we'll go to microphone number one, and as soon as we deal with chiefs on the floor, we will start dealing with the bundle. So microphone number one, please.
Anid Kinawea, Zongabi Dijnakaz, Chief McLeod Nipissing First Nation. A word to the organizers, please do not ever again put a video like that ahead of our residential school survivors.
Thank you. Noted and put into the record. Thank you. Microphone number two.
Good morning. Chief Randy Erminskin, Cree Nation. I thought I'd bring this up because I didn't have an opportunity last night the Alberta government, and I think this should be addressed to the Assembly, passed the Sovereignty Act in Alberta, which is a total violation of our treaty rights, and everything we're bringing up here is going to be affected. So I think we should pay attention to that and really come up with a strategy to come up. And Poilievre that just spoke here and promised that he would give back, he's behind all that. So we have to fight against it and make sure that we have a strategy to oppose that as hard as we can, because there's a lot of our treaty rights that are going to be affected. We haven't talked a whole lot about treaty rights here, so let's figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. And just want to point out that right after we deal with the bundle on Indian residential school, this is a resolution that we will be dealing right away. It's emergency resolution number 4, and it is entitled Opposition to Bill C-21 Federal Gun Control Legislation. So we will deal with this as it is an emergency resolution, and it has been through the whole process, formal process. So Microphone number 1, please, and then if you all agree, we will start with the draft, the omnibus on Indian residential school. So microphone number 1, please.
Yeah, I'm proxy for Rosa River and Anishinaabe First Nation. My name is Terrence Nelson. Back in 2007, I stood here 16 years ago and talked about the railway blockade that we're going to do for June 29th, 2007. And, you know, Jim Prentice was Minister of Indian Affairs at the time. He got me into Ottawa, and he actually converted, he committed to doing 150,000 acres of land per year for 4 years. And he did convert 550,000 acres in the province of Manitoba. Right now, he did convert in 2007 74.8 acres for Rosa River on the northwest side of Winnipeg. And I'm really getting kind of pissed off with the Liberals because they, you know, when I mean, we always beat up on the Conservatives, but the reality is to me that reconciliation is a lot of BS because the Liberals have converted 0 acres for Rosa River, and we're kind of, I'm getting to the point where, you know, where our TLEs and our lands that are supposed to be converted isn't happening. So when the Prime Minister gets here, I want to know what the hell they're going to do, because they keep talking about all the things they're going to do, and they all say all the things we want to hear, and then do nothing. So I wanted to say that because I'm getting pissed off with the Liberals and Jagmeet Singh, supporting the Liberals. Get our damn lands converted to reserve status. Do something instead of you know, just talking about things. We want to be financially independent. When you look at West Bank, man, they're doing really good, and I want to see that happen for our First Nations. So convert some lands, get some things done.
Thank you, Proxy Nelson. Okay, so we will now deal with the bundle on Indian residential school survivors and reconciliation. So let's first, okay, I wanted to inform you that we're going to deal with this in a bilingual way. And we're going to have a bit of French to read. I'll read in French therefore be it resolved the sections or clauses of the 10 draft resolutions included in this omnibus number 1. So first, I need to know that the mover and the seconder are present in the room. So mover Cookpee, Judy Wilson, are you present in the room? I see you. Yes, thank you so much. No, Cookpee, I don't know why. I thought you. Okay, so I'm sorry if you were like this, but I acknowledge your presence and I thank you to be there. And now I'm looking for the seconder on this, Chief Roberta Joseph. And you are the seconder. Thank you so much for being here. It's going to take some time, so that's a good thing you stay seated, because we'll come back to you. But after the whole thing, after I read everything in French, technicians, just for you to know that, be sure to put I think you have all the draft resolution in the order. I'll need to read them in French, so I need them on the screen, on my screen at least, and up here behind me. Just wanted also to inform you that, okay, so there's no interruption reading. I will read this. There is no interruption possible. I know it's going to take some time, but as you all mentioned, it's very, very important. But if you have amendments you would like to make, this is possible. We will have a discussion period. After that, you can come at the discussion at the microphone. You say, okay, I have an amendment to make to a draft resolution, let's say 7, and we'll deal with this. We'll deal with each amendment once at a time. And we will always check with the mover and the seconder of the whole bundle to make sure that they agree with amendments. So that's the way we proceed on this, and then we'll have a final a vote on the whole bundle. Another thing that could be possible, if there are too many amendments proposed on the floor, we can just pull out the one draft resolution and then vote on the whole thing. So this is all things we can do. It's very flexible. And okay, so that's what I wanted to say. Oh, another thing I wanted to inform you that DR 48 has slight amendments, and we will see it on the screen in red. But draft resolution number 50 has been amended, some amendments. So you should have all received a new version. It has been distributed, and there is a new title for draft resolution number 50. You will notice that the new title is Justice and Reconciliation for Indian Residential School Survivors and Missing Children and Unmarked Graves. So, on that, I'm gonna start in just right after I take some refreshing water. Okay. Nous commençons en français.
So let's begin in French, and
it's going to be up on the screen as well. So thank you very much for this. We start with draft resolution number 7. Alors, le projet de résolution numéro 7.
So number 7, establishing of an AFN Chief Committee on Indian Residential School. Therefore, let it be resolved that First Nation Assembly, 1, establish an Assembly of the First Nation Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential School. 2, A, help share and track information between First Nation who are undertaking ground research for unmarked grave as former site of residential school. B, advocate for the implementation the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action, and C, to work with the AFN Executive Committee, federal, provincial, and territorial government, and the newly appointed special interlocutor to address and investigate matters related to the Indian residential school system. 2, call on the AFN to ensure that the Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential School draft their term to reference and ensure that the composition of the committee will include participation from residential school survivor and will establish a mechanism for the nation to share information with the Chiefs Committee. And 3, call on the AFN to work on the newly created Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential School to work the federal government in full partnership with the First Nation to A, call on Canada and the church entity to identify and release record in their control to ensure the record and available to inform the investigation needed to former residential school site. And 3, to call on the AFN to work with the newly created Chief Committee, and B, call to Canada and Church entity to provide records to the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation to ensure that Indian residential schools survivors, their families, and First Nation have full and complete access, including funding the necessary resource to access, review, and analyze the record held by Canada Church entity and the third parties. 4, call to the AFN to ensure that the Chief Committee on Indian Residential will work to ensure that the federal government and involved churches take active steps toward providing consistent and substantially support to residential school survivors, family, and First Nation in their effort to investigate and as well support for survivors in their journeys toward healing from the horrific trauma. 5. Direct the AFN to advocate for and seek appropriate resources to engage in and carry out activities to support the Chief Committee of Residential Schools in carrying out their mandate. Next resolution project, number 44. Thank you. Thank you for all these motifs in the First Nation in Assembly that forthwith the healing form for the residential survivor veteran drivers. 1. Called upon the federal and provincial government to fully resource and provide capacity support for First Nation-led and hosted healing forum in alignment with their obligation under the UN Declaration and the United Nations Declaration of the Right of Indigenous People. 2. Direct the Assembly of First Nation to advocate for and seeks appropriate resources to engage in and carry out activities to support us hosting national and regional forum for residential school and day school survivor veteran driver intergenerational survivor and their invited guests and support to come together and identify their collective needs for healing. 3. Direct the AFN to call on the like-minded organization, including the Indian Residential School Survivors Secretarial Plant, and host a national and regional forum to ensure that a trauma-informed approach is used. This was the end of resolution number 44, draft resolution number 44. The number 45, we have to call to formally repudiate the doctrine of discovery. Therefore, but if resolved that the First Nation Assembly fully reject the reassistant colony doctrine of discovery as a justification for forceful deposition of sovereign indigenous nation from their territory. 2. Fully support and endorse the finding and recommendation outlined in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission call to action related to the doctrine of discovery and terra nullius, recommendation 1.16.1 and 1.16.2 of the 1996 report of Royal Commission of Aboriginal People and the Assembly of First Nations dismantling the doctrine of discovery report. 3. Call on King Charles III to renounce the doctrine of discovery and likewise to renounce all doctrine of moral superiority asserted in aids of colonialism, so the Crown does not continue to rely upon the use of these doctrine in aid of colonial purposes, especially as the Crown has distinct and lasting fiduciary obligation to the Indigenous people in Canada and around the world. 4. Direct the Assembly of the First Nation, AFN, to call on the Federal Minister of Justice to include formal rescinding and repudiation of the doctrine of discovery in Canada's United Nations Declaration of the Right of Indigenous People Action Plan, and to ensure the policy and legislation measure of the Discovery Plus plan reflect the rescinding and repudiation of the Discovery Plan. 5. Direct the AFN to continue to call upon the apostate Bergoglio for rescind the doctrine of discovery and terra nullius and recognize indigenous and inherent sovereignty jurisdiction of the Aboriginal. This is now draft resolution number 46, call support to further action post Bergoglio apology. Therefore, let it be resolved that 1. Call upon Bergoglio to Bergoglio to renounce the formally revoke the Inter Cetera 1993 doctrine of discovery and replaces it with a new papal bull that decrees Indigenous people and culture are valuable, worthy, and must be treated with dignity and respect. 2. Call upon the federal government and church entity to provide additional investment into long-term healing initiative beyond the recent commitment of 30 million announcement on September 20th and 2021 to ensure the support of program and service for survivors and their descendants. 3. Direct the Assembly of First Nations to advocate for and seek appropriate resources to develop an AFN National strategy on residential school reconciliation following the papal encounter with address the following. A. Analyze the Bergoglio apology speeches to identify commitment and support initiatives. La suivante. Advocacy strategy to return of diocese land property back to First Nation whose traditional land they are situated. C. Commitment from church entity to release the record and related material of residential school institution, including death record of student. D. Analysis of the constitutional impact of the doctrine of discovery in relation with the Church and the British North America. And E. Commitment for the return of artifact from Church entities, educating Church entity and British America with the gaining of true understanding of the impact of the Church on Indigenous people and our way of knowing and being. This is now draft resolution number 47. That's about... This is the reimbursement of legal costs for residential school survivors. Therefore, for these, let it be resolved that First Nation Assembly, 1, direct the National Chief and Assembly of First Nation Executive Committee to call on the federal government could compensate those survivor litigants who are not reimbursed for the legal fees that they incurred by bringing their individual residential school in front of the court. 2, direct the National Chief and Assembly of the First Nation Executive Committee to call upon the federal government to ensure that the family of those survivor litigants who have since passed on are eligible to receive any compensation. 3, direct the National Chief and Assembly of First Nation Executive Committee to call upon the federal government to resolve its outstanding issue for survivors litigants and expeditiously as possible. 48, draft resolution 48. I mentioned that there is some modification and this will appear in red. So, for the title is Support for the First People Monument on the ground of Parliament. First Nation, First People Monument on the ground of Parliament. One, ask to the federal government to allocate funds to create a national monument that is meant to commemorate the all First Nation in their contribution to British North American society, to call upon all levels of government to support the creation of the First People Monument, which will serve as a reminder of all members of Parliament the support of First People, and to serve as a symbol of reconciliation and redress for past injustice and wrongs. 3, direct the Assembly of First Nation to work with First Nation leader and the local First Nation Kidskanzibi Anishinaabe and Algonquin of Peshawaragan elder youth and artists to design the conception of a First People Monument which will provide to commemoration and support for healing and intergenerational trauma and to build for a stronger future. 4, direct the AFN to approach Heritage Canada to fund an initiative that will result in the design, construction, installation of First People Monument on the ground of Parliament with input from the First Nations leader, elder, youth, and artists. That is draft resolution number 49, entitled Establishment of an Indian Residential School Museum. let it be resolved that the First Nation in Assembly 1. Support the establishment of First Nation Country National Museum in Saskatchewan with a mandate to explore the subject of residential school in order to preserve the stories and survivors and of the survivors to enhance public understanding of residential school and encourage reflection and dialogue. 2. Call upon the federal government to fund the planning, development, implementation, and permanent undergoing operation of the museum. Now it's draft resolution number 50. Therefore, I mentioned to you that there is a new title and several modification was brought. A new hard copy version was distributed. Justice and Reconciliation for Institution for Indian Residential for Survivor and Missing Children and Non-Migrant. For these, therefore, let it be resolved that First Nations in 1. Direct the Assembly of First Nation to prioritize the international action included in Resolution 01-2022 and 02-2021. 2. Direct the AFN to advocate for the establishment of an independent international commission, such as utilizing the UN Special Rapporteur to examine how IRS survivors were failed by the IRSSA on their individual complaint, conduct study, provide advice on technical cooperation, and to undertake a visit to assess specific human rights issue or situation in the Confederacy. 3. Direct the National Executive Committee, AFN Secretariat, to intervene in the legal matters of IRS survivors or national importance for the Government of Canada and the Roman Catholic Church, including call for support from the international community on behalf of the survivor to obtain relevant documents, have their claims reopened and re-adjudicated, and appropriate compensation be awarded to them in a trauma-informed process. 4. Well,
Direct the AFN to seek justice through international processes, to hold the Government of Canada and the churches accountable for their actions and for the violation of human rights pursuant to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the UNDRIP, and the UNDA without delay, in recognition that survivors are aging and are passing away before they receive justice. 5. Direct the AFN to commission an academic review subject to funding of the IRSSA to determine whether the IRSSA had been fulfilled social justice obligations. 6. Direct the AFN to pursue the release of all related evidence and documents in full to the National Centre of Truth and Reconciliation. 7. Direct the AFN to adopt a definition of reconciliation which enhances and strengthens the TRC's definition of reconciliation, with emphasis that true reconciliation cannot be achieved until justice is served for Indigenous people. 8. Direct the AFN to report back annually at the Annual General Assembly on any progress made. We're now at draft resolution number 52. And it's the before last. This one is entitled Reopening of Indian Residential Schools Settlement Agreement. 1. Call on the Government of Canada to immediately reopen the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement, IRSSA, for survivors that missed the deadline to file a claim for their experiences at residential schools, or to facilitate a process in consultation with First Nations leaders to provide adequate compensation to which survivors are entitled. call on the Government of Canada to immediately ensure that sufficient monies, either by surplus under the IRSSA or otherwise, be allocated to the First Nations-led measures and institutions to promote and foster healing for survivors and their families. 3. Call on the Assembly of First Nations to negotiate as a party to the RSSA to reopen the RSSA or negotiate a process in consultation with First Nations leaders to provide adequate compensation to which survivors are entitled. 4. Call on the Government of Canada to allocate further financial resources to First Nations-led measures and institutions for the purpose of addressing the ongoing harmful effects of residential schools. Last draft resolution, number 53, extension of day school claims, McLean class action application, deadline for 1 year. Therefore, be it resolved that the First Nations in Assembly, 1, direct the Assembly of First Nations to request an extension for the day school claims applications from January 13, 2023 to January 12, 2024 through the Minister of the Crown, Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs. Est-ce qu'il y a un autre diapo? Non. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire?
Whole bundle. Thank you. And on this, I thank you for being so perfect listening to me. And I will now turn the floor over to my colleague Adam. And I told you that we will deal with this in a bilingual way. So here it comes. English is coming. So thank you very, very much. Good discussions.
Thank you very much, Miigwech, to my colleague Wina. So we will continue. The resolution is on the floor. We confirmed the mover and the seconder are present. So again, Chiefs, this is an omnibus resolution. There are 10 resolutions we've combined together. If you have an amendment, if you are requesting an amendment for a specific resolution, please have the text of the wording of the amendment that you have approach the microphone. We would need to work with the resolutions team, and then we would have to bring that up and then read it into the record, if that is the request. Of course, we would need to go to the mover and the seconder to confirm. We would like to deal with one amendment at a time. So just a reminder, one at a time. So at this point, I will ask the mover and the seconder if they have any comments. The mover, of course, has 5 minutes, and I will ask the mover, Cookpee Wilson, who's at microphone number 2. You have 5 minutes.
Cook Chairman, thank you for this important resolutions. I just want to say they're all supporting and braided to one another. It's very important we have that before us today. And while I'm speaking, I'm hoping we can have the survivors in the room stand so we can acknowledge them. And second generation, anyone who is affected by day schools and residential schools, I think is very important. If they could please stand so we can acknowledge you and honor you.
Did she ask if we make comments? Or mover and seconder?
Yeah. Thank you. So you can see how this affects all of us, all of our generations. And I wanted to be able to recognize our tribal chief of the Shuswap Nation Tribal Council and Cookpee of the Kamloops Indian Band, Cookpee Roseanne Casimir here to my left. She was the one that was faced with dealing with the mass graves and burial sites at the 215 into Kamloops, and a lot of this came to the global front, so if we can acknowledge her, I would appreciate it. In many of the other Indian residential schools across Canada and in BC, we have about 19 caretaker communities that are working through this whole issue. And I'd also like to give some of my time to Regional Chief Antoine. He's been working on this file as well, so he's going to speak to the many issues on the residential school. And I'd just like to say I'm praying and hoping we can deal with this in a similar way with children and family, that we support one another. And all the intention is that we all work together on this. And the language I'm hoping in there is reflecting that in the resolutions, and that we're not taking away anything from the regions that are already might be working on some of these initiatives. The language should be just that we're inclusive and that we're supporting one another and we respect other regions that are doing the work. We're not trying to centralize or take anything over. It's going to take us all, as we did in children and family, to move this important issue and recognize our survivors, get the healing done, get the gathering. The survivors' voices haven't been heard enough. My father, Grand Chief Joe Manuel, is a survivor at the Kamloops, and that's what he told me. So that's what I'm doing here today. Regional Chief, rest of the minutes to you.
Miigwech, thank you. So the mover has asked that Regional Chief Antoine speak. So Regional Chief Antoine, you will have the time allocated to the mover. Just be mindful, please, of the time. I know that you probably have a lot to present. So Regional Chief Antoine.
Merci. I am really proud to stand here with you all together, the survivors. You are the majority of people here. I acknowledge the home fire of the original nation of communities, the community of families here. I come from the home fire of the Dene. 50 years ago, as a Dene, I witnessed my family leadership stood up and announced through the Paulette case that we have prior interest to 450,000 square miles. Two years later, the Dene family, comprised of assemblies, joined in conversation on their relationship, which resulted with a statement of rights entitled Dene Declaration. I've been elected to be able to strengthen that relationship. We also seek your support in the things that we need to do. In respect to the connection that I have with AFN, I've been elected as Dene National Chief, and also the responsibility that also includes the position of the AFN Regional Chief, and that's why I'm here with you. The other thing is that in this particular position, I've also been assigned several responsibilities. The Knowledge Keepers, the Veterans Council, and also the Day School, 60th Scoop, and the Indian Residential School. On this Indian Residential School, that's why I'm also addressing it. I think this needs to be a priority at the Leadership Assembly, and I'd like to see it on the next Assembly, because this is really involves all of us. It also affects our governance and also the way we need to do that. So I'm here to share with you is that what I did was I looked at all the resolutions, and they need to be all grouped together, and they need to be step by step, so that way it doesn't really mess up the whole issue. And that's one of the things that I see here is that the systems that we have here, and also the analysis, it needs to really reflect the due diligence. And the other thing is that it needs to really be coming from you. So I'd like to just mention that that's how we formulate it. We also put a proposal for funding, and I think this is something that we still need to follow through. So with that, I'd like to ask you to really think clearly and also to be able to look at how we could be able to support this step-by-step process. Masi.
Miigwech, thank you, Regional Chief. I will go to the seconder of the resolution. Seconder is Chief Joseph, who I believe is at microphone 2. Seconder, do you have any comments to the resolution? You have up to 3 minutes.
Yes, I do have comments, but Chief Judy Wilson had also requested Chief Casimir to make a few comments. Masi. On her part of her minutes.
So with the process we discussed, Cookpee Wilson has 5 minutes, and she has the 5 minutes that she was allocated has been taken up by Regional Chief. So I can give you your 3 minutes, and you can give a portion if you'd like. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just be a minute, and then I'll give a couple minutes to Chief Casimir. As a fourth generation residential school survivor, I am proud to second these resolutions that support our residential school survivors. It is critical that we support survivors, and there is so much more work to be done. Advocate for resource to hold. So just to recap some of the resolutions, to advocate for resources to hold a healing forum for residential school survivors, call upon Canada, King Charles III, and the Pope to formally repudiate the doctrine of discovery, develop a national strategy for residential school reconciliation, reimburse legal costs for residential school survivors, litigants who were not reimbursed for legal fees that they incurred by bringing their individual residential school claims through the courts, support the development of a First Nations monument on the grounds of Parliament, and support the establishment of a First Nation-controlled museum. It is critical for support survivors, and there is so much more work to be done, and I look forward to these resolutions be approved. Merci.
Miigwech, thank you. Chief Casimir.
Michael Pytip, Cook's Jam, Cookby Roseanne, TTS, and thank you to the mover and a seconder to allow me to add a little bit more. But again, I just want to acknowledge all the survivors, intergenerational survivors, and all those that have been impacted from residential school and the traumas. But I just also wanted to, note that, for those that have hearing and hearing impairment, we really got to also look at that inclusivity to include documents that they could also have to take away and making that adaptability to support them. And so they have something. And just like I too have a resolution in my hand, it would be nice for them as well. But in the whereas is under number C, I would like to make a friendly amendment, just a bit of additional wording, that it includes Indian hospitals as well as areas that may be found through further investigations. Cook's Jam.
Thank you. I just want to clarify which resolution?
It is resolution number 7.
So resolution number 7, whereas?
Whereas number C.
C.
And it reads, additional unmarked graves were later found across Canada at former residential school sites, including Brandon Indian Residential School, Mariaville Indian Residential School, Kootenay Indian Residential Schools, St. Joseph's Indian Residential Schools, and Cooper Island Residential Schools, and to include Indian hospitals and areas that may be found through further investigation.
Thank you. So I'm going to look to the resolutions team. They will incorporate that text. What I will do is I have to read it into the record. I need the mover to consent and then the seconder, but we'll go through that process. So bear with me. They're doing it now. I have to look at a screen with the revised wording and then read it into the record. Bear with me. So this is the requested amendment again in the whereas.
Je dois m'assurer.
Resolution. So it's in draft resolution 7 as part of the omnibus resolution. Whereas C, it would read additional unmarked graves were later found across Canada at former residential school sites, including Brandon Indian Residential School, Mariaville Indian Residential School, Kootenay Indian Residential Schools, St. Joseph's Indian Residential School, Cooper Island Residential School, and to include Indian hospitals and areas that may be found through further investigation. Is that the amendment you are requesting? Yes. Mover, you're okay with it? Seconder, you're okay with it? Thank you. So that has been read into the record as an amendment. So I'm going to go now to microphone 1, 2, and then 3. Go ahead, microphone 1.
Check 1. Ted Cusance, proxy for the Keys Coast First Nation. The residential school file, the presentations that I've seen today was a lot of good work put together. Every question I had has been answered. But there's a couple additions that's missing is the issue of The St. Anne's issue, is it part of this package? Residential school? The Timber Bay and also Isle La Crosse in Saskatchewan, and other schools that are still working towards being identified as official residential schools. And in moving forward, there's going to be challenges, and in regards to, because the file is it's the residential school file becomes on and then it's off because resources run out, and there's inconsistencies because it's a lack of resourcing the processes that survivors have to deal with. Our survivors are still facing the consequences of what happened. It's affecting our families and individuals. And I truly believe this Chiefs Committee is going to be effective only on one condition, that you have survivors involved from each and every region doing the work. Because for some reason, like the vice chiefs of every region, they have many portfolios, a lot of work, and they get caught up in that. And they do a lot of traveling also to communities. So you got to look at the consideration of survivors on the ground within the regions to assist in making sure that the work is done and reports are done, work plans, and finding resources to get the work done. The other issue I talk about is
30 seconds.
Is the issue of the House of Commons. It was a public relations stunt. They all voted that it's genocide. And the issue here is what's the next step and how serious are all these MPs in the House of Commons of dealing with the issue of genocide? Because all of you know the doctrine of discovery was based on a lie. And Lametti is going to be here, and that's a question we have to ask the gentleman, because it's going to affect the legal system of this country. So with that, I support the omnibus bill with my heart, and with our survivors in our community and our families, and also the intergenerational. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miigwech. I'd just like to clarify, you asked whether the St. Anne's issue was part of the omnibus. There is Resolution 50 as part of the omnibus, and it's Section F. So that is part of the omnibus, if I understood you correctly, the St. Anne's issue. Go ahead.
Also, the Timber Bay issue and Isle La Crosse, and also other schools that are affected. Thank you.
So we'll have to check on the others, but I know the St. Anne's question is in the resolution. We'll just check on that, and then we'll come back if we require an amendment. Microphone number 2. Go ahead.
Manok, I send my acknowledgement, miigwetches and acknowledgements to all the people of the region here. I support the omnibus resolution. We're going to ask the King to announce the doctrine of discovery. How about we send a canoe full of Nishnabs over there, and let's go discover them. Give them a document full of syllabics and don't interpret it for them. How about we do that? The reason why I'm up here is I'd like to make a friendly, I'm from Mississauga First Nation, Bob Chiblo Gama. We're in the Anishinaabeg Nation region. Mississauga First Nation number 8, Ganabajing and Sagamuk, we're part of a Nisanong partnership that are dealing with the Garnier Spanish Residential Boys and Girls School. One of the things we want to do, and I see we ask our survivors to stand up and recognize them, that's good. But what I'd like to have, I have a late resolution 6. direct the Assembly of First Nations to approach the Government of Canada to develop a national recognition pin for survivors of the residential school system to honour their bravery, courage, strength, designed in collaboration with survivors, Indian school organization, and the arts community. And number 2, direct AFN to advocate for a national honouring ceremony to bring survivors to the forefront to receive these national recognition pins if they so wish. That's on a late resolution 6. I'm wondering if we could add that as a friendly amendment to the omnibus resolution. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that and say miigwech.
So just to clarify, Chief Chibolo, you would like late resolution number 6 to be included in the omnibus. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
okay.
And they have the whereas 1 and 2 already at the resolution table.
Okay, so I just need to consult in the process to see if we can get that done. Just give me one second. Okay. Rich. Thank you very much, Chief Chibolo. So we've just checked, and the process is that you cannot include late resolutions before on-time resolutions. And there are too many other on-time resolutions that need to be dealt with first, so we cannot insert it into this omnibus at this point. So, miigwech, thank you. Nobody in the Zoom platform, so microphone 1, go ahead.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Anyways, my name is Frank McKay. I'm proxy for Couchiching First Nation and Anishinaabe Nation in Northern Ontario. I want to talk about the resolution number 7 in relation to the establishment of a national committee on residential schools. I think it's about time that we had a national committee established to address this tragic event, this historical tragic event that happened to our people. I'm a residential school survivor, and I really support this resolution. One of the things that I would be concerned about, though, is that I think we need to have an annual report to the Assembly in relation to the progress that they've made. I'm also interested in terms of reference in relation to what their work plan would be. I don't know if that could be inserted in there somewhere in that process. Also in that resolution where we talked about institutes that would be included in the resolutions, we had a lot of our people that went missing when there was a tuberculosis in the sanitariums that they were sent, and I don't know where that thing could be inserted in this resolution. That's my question.
Great, thank you. So there's 2 separate issues for draft resolution number 7. Yep. You're asking for an annual report. And you're also asking to be inserted that terms of reference to be developed. Is that what you're asking? Yes. So we need the actual wording that you're proposing, but that would be into draft resolution 7. You don't have wording in front of you that you've developed yet? That's the wording?
Will this just say that the National Committee on a Residential School would report annually on the progress they've made on residential school issues?
Okay, so I'm looking to the resolutions team for that. The second, regarding the TB sanatoriums. Oh, sorry, you've got a team member there, so good. We'll work on that. So there's a request for a friendly amendment, an addition to draft resolution 7. We're just working on that. Frank, if you can give it to the resolution team member there. You're okay with that wording? Okay, so I'll read it into the record. I'll ask the mover and seconder. Your second issue was about TB sanatoriums. Is that in a separate resolution, or is that same resolution?
Well, it's an issue that that we're dealing with as also. You know, when our people got sick because of tuberculosis, they got sent away, and some of them never came back, and we don't know, and we're still searching for those people that never returned. I don't know if that's a separate resolution.
Okay, so we've got our resolution team member there. Can that be included in that resolution? So this is the first amendment. Again, draft resolution 7. Therefore be resolved number 2. I will read it. It says, call on the AFN to ensure the Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential Schools shall draft their terms of reference, which will include an annual report, and ensure that composition of the committee will include participation from residential school survivors, and will establish a mechanism for First Nations to share information with the Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential Schools. Proxy Frank, was that okay? That first amendment that you're looking at there, you're okay with it? Okay.
Yes.
Mover, Cookby Wilson, are you okay with that? Seconder, are you okay with that amendment? Seconder of the resolution? And again, bear with me, I cannot see with all the lights, and it sure gets hot up here. You're okay? Thank you. So that we have approval for the first amendment request. We're just working on the second one. Just a reminder, there are several lunch meetings that are happening, including the 2SL meeting, and of course all 2SL members are invited. I can't remember, but it is in the Shaw building. I believe it's on the second floor, and there are a number of other caucus meetings. But what we are doing now, we are proposing as co-chairs to continue through the lunch hour so we can deal with the important resolutions, as many as we can get to. So that is what we're doing. That is the process right now. We'll go through this resolution, and then the resolutions coming up. So what I'm going to ask while we're dealing with this is if you have an amendment, if you are proposing an amendment, please have the text with you ahead of time, and then we can deal with the amendment. He's got the amendment? Okay, so we have a proposed amendment, and just as soon as we have it up here on the stage, I will read it into the record. Actually, if you can just stay there. Yep, wait. I want to make sure we've got it right. So again, we will continue on through lunch. I really admire, again, the dedication, chiefs, delegates, all the hard work you're putting through, sitting through these long days, well into the evenings and right through lunch. Where no lunch for, no rest for the wicked today. I don't have it on, I haven't connected yet. I should have done it, but. So again, we're just confirming the amendment that is being requested. I see a number of chiefs up. I will close the speakers list soon. So just a note, I will soon be closing the speakers list, so those that are up at the microphone will be recognized. I'll give you a minute if you wish to approach the microphone. So previously there was a question about starting to name specific residential schools. So just to be aware, draft resolution 50 actually broadly covers all Indian residential schools. So that would include Timber and Ile La Crosse that was requested. So it covers all Indian residential schools. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. And I'm just looking for, you have the amendment there at the resolutions team? You've got it, and then we'll get it here? Okay. Okay. Which number? Okay, so this is, again, this is resolution, draft resolution number 50. We're adding G. And it reads, many children who have attended residential schools were sent to TB sanatoriums, and many of those children never returned home. Proxy McKay, is that okay? Okay, thank you. Mover, you're okay with it? Cookby Wilson, you're okay? Seconder, you're okay with it? Thank you. So that has been read into the record. Microphone 2, go ahead.
Good morning or good afternoon. Proxy Regina Crowchild from Sildina. I just want to ask, all these resolutions, I'm a residential school survivor. My parents were. There's many people that I know that are residential school survivors. Some of us did not, or the ones that did, they put their records in, their information into the system, and I guess to get the monies that they needed to get the compensation. How are you going, but they don't want those records to be exposed to the world, to Canada. My question is, how will you protect the privacy of those individuals? Because they'll only relive the trauma that they endured, and they wanted to bury it and keep going, move on. So that's my question on all of that. But I want to tell you something. Someone mentioned the genocide. It's Canada and the doctrine of discovery. It's Canada that is imposing or pushing for genocide. They hired the churches, the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the United Church, and others, to get rid of us because they want title to our territories that they stole. That's what they did. That's what drives me to protect my treaty and all treaties, because of what they did. And don't fool yourselves. Just because we're still here and they didn't kill us off, they're doing it another way, and that's to make us into municipalities and forget about our treaties. They want to get us into Canadian society. And they're manipulating our consent through AFN and other organizations. I ask questions. How do you protect our treaty that we excluded from certain things that infringe upon our rights? I have yet to get an answer. So I'm going to ask it again in July. Hopefully AFN can answer that question. The next question is the Prime Minister. I asked him, are you still trying to get rid of our treaties and make us into municipalities? I've asked him twice. He hasn't answered. Hopefully someday he'll answer. But I know the reason. They want to make us into municipalities and get rid of our treaties and our sovereignty. The treaties protect our sovereignty. So I want to let you guys know that. That's why I'm always here protecting our treaties. I'm not fooled by the government of Canada and those sweet words, because they're going to get rid of us through a simulation now. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Proxy Crowchild. So very important questions, but not dealing specifically with the resolutions before you. I'd like to go back to previous, and so I'm going to microphone 2. Please bear with me. I'm going to ask Chief Chiblo to approach the microphone, go back to the previous request, and then I'll come back and follow the order. So I believe, if we understand correctly, the request was not dealing with the late resolution, but I believe we have a text here for an amendment. And I'm just going to read this out, Chief Chiblo, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's for draft resolution number 44. And so there is an addition here that I understand you have requested. I'm going to read this out to see if this is correct. So it would be, therefore be resolved adding a number 4 and number 5. So number 4 reads, direct the Assembly of First Nations, AFN, to approach the Government of Canada to develop a national recognition pin for survivors of the Indian residential school system to honor their bravery, courage, and strength, designed in collaboration with survivors, Indian residential school organizations, and the arts community. Number 5, direct the AFN to advocate for a national honoring ceremony to bring survivors to the forefront to receive these national recognition pin for survivors if they so wish. Is that the requested amendment? Okay, thank you. Mover, Cookie Wilson, you're okay? Seconder, you're okay. Thank you. That is in the record. So I'm following the order. I don't see anybody on microphone 3 on Zoom, so microphone 1, go ahead.
Chief John French, Tackle Nation, BC. I just want to comment that I support any resolution that goes forward as long as it comes from the residential school survivors themselves and their communities. We had done a bunch of work here, and my message is to all leaders, the AFN, all traditional leaders throughout the territories, that if residential school healing is not in your community, then you should put that on your radar and create a program. We came down here and advocated for money with the federal government to do community healing. And it is by far the most important issue in our community, and I know throughout all the other communities that residential school survivors need to do their healing with their families and with the community. This has got to be the most important work when we look at all the addiction problems, the social issues, and all the other issues within our community. It is a very sensitive subject. As we know, the behaviors that we're taught and learned with the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, and the mental abuse that had gone on with our survivors, whom are our elders today. When we go to seek elderly advice and that wisdom of our culture, we know that these are the category of people that had been abused the most. And it's a very difficult place for us as younger people, younger leaders, when all this abuse was generational. It is definitely genocide. Don't ever be fooled that this wasn't genocide. It was genocide. And that if this is not on the forefront of our leaders of today, your community is going to continue to struggle. We have done this work in my community for the first time this summer. And what I asked, we created a program through our elders and youth, trying to bridge the elders and the young people together, like a bridge. And we're somewhere in the middle there. And bringing those two together and them to start to understand why their grandpa, their dad, their aunt, their uncles may have had behaviors they'd had when they were drinking or whatever, and just understand that overall was so important. Our residential school survivors' own children had not heard their stories before because it is a very sensitive subject, and our community was torn. There was some that said, don't open that can of worms, and there was others that said, we don't have much time to go here. We want our stories told, and this issue needs to be dealt with. So what we did is we went to the survivors themselves, got them together, and they are directing us on what healing looks like. All the other programs that have been put into place and monies that have been given to date has not worked in my community until we started this program. And at the end, we welcomed them back into our community and gave them the acknowledgement they should have. We did that out of own source revenues, and there should be money sought for this, I must say.
Thank you. Microphone 1, go ahead. Sorry, I was looking at microphone 2. Microphone 2, go ahead.
Miigwech. Chief Lynn Akus from Jagmeet Singh in Treaty 4 territory. I don't have any amendments, but I do want to address a few things. I want to add that I'm also a day scholar survivor of Marival Indian Residential School. We had Jagmeet Singh had land expropriated for a day school to be built on Littlebone First Nation just south of Yorkton, Saskatchewan. So there was a land swap, and Canada and the province had built a day school for the Métis and the First Nations students in the area. The children that were not sent to Marival or Round Lake were sent to day school because the older boys went because they were used as laborers, right? So they stayed home. And they're very elderly now, and they're not eligible for any day school compensation, even though the federal government built the school and funded through tuition. And when we do these settlement agreements, there are people who are heartbroken because they fall through the cracks. So we're in the process of seeking justice for these survivors of that day school. The other thing I wanted to say is that we need a full-out inquiry on residential schools and the conduct of the Crown. We discovered that there were annuity payments that the students were eligible for were paid to the residential schools. So those families of those students who passed away long before the settlement agreement, those families never are not going to see any compensation for the lack of annuities paid to their families that went to the residential school. So there are a number of issues that are still outstanding, and I just want to thank all of the survivors for keeping these issues alive. Miigwech.
Miigwech, thank you. Nobody on microphone number 3, so I'm going to go back to microphone 1. Go ahead, microphone 1.
My name is Darren Blaney, the chief of Hamalco First Nations. I just make a comment. When the 215 remains were discovered in Kamloops, the thing that really bothered me on that was the 1-800 number. If you're traumatized, call 1-800 number. And the difficulty with that is, in my community, we send people off to alcohol and drug treatment centers. And they have problems with alcohol and drugs, but the real issue is trauma. We have a lot of unhealed trauma. And when they put that 1-800 number down on the TV, they know there's trauma, but it's unhealed. And with that, I had my auntie who went to residential school, and I went to residential school. My grandfather, my great-grandfather went to residential school. So there's all these generations of us that went to residential school that have huge difficulty in healing. And I think the need for trauma treatment becomes even more evident. I had a call with First Nations Health Authority, and they were talking about funding for alcohol and drug treatment. And I was asking them, why are we looking at alcohol and drugs? It's like looking at somebody with a toothache, and you're giving them toothache drops for the pain when you're not dealing with the cavity, which is trauma. In my community, we've started to raise money to heal the trauma. We want to put a trauma treatment in our old community that the government forced us out of. I think when I look at my nation, our economic development will go no further than our healing. Every time we start a business, the issues from residential school, the social problems, come bumping up against the residential school issue. So I think there should be some kind of commitment to get the government to fund trauma treatment. Without that, we have people coming home from alcohol and drug treatment, probably 2 days and they're back drinking. 2 hours, some of them are back on drugs. We see that too many times,
10 seconds.
the cycle. spinning our wheels. So we need to put trauma treatment into our communities. Every community needs trauma treatment. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to close the speakers list, and we have one more at microphone 2, and then we will go to the vote if required. Microphone 2, go ahead.
Sandra Laren, Gitwagak Band Council in Gitxsan First Nation in BC. I want to offer that my mother is a residential school survivor, as are my grandparents and my uncles. And my mother now has advanced Alzheimer's. And I just want to say, as a second-generation survivor, we often talk about trauma as being a one-time event or a final destination, and it's like a river of your life. As you become a mother, your trauma appears differently to you. As you become a grandmother, your trauma appears differently to you. And we need to recognize and support that the journey for trauma has needs that change. When we first acknowledge attending residential school to now, and even the acceptance of how the communities respond to residential school survivors. I can tell you my mother's stories have changed over the years, and as she lost the inhibition with her disease, the horrors that she has communicated because she can't suppress them anymore, her needs changed in terms of what she needs in support. So I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to resolution number 7, therefore be a resolve number 4. Call on the AFN to ensure the Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential Schools work to ensure that the federal government and involved churches take active steps towards providing consistent and substantive support to residential school survivors, families, and First Nations in their efforts of investigation, as well as comprehensive supports for the dynamic and evolving needs of survivors in their journey towards healing from the horrific trauma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the resolutions team has taken a note of that, and they're taking a look at your text. We will have that incorporated, so bear with us. If you can stay at the microphone, please. I just want to make sure that we get it correct. As soon as it's typed in, I will get a copy, and then I will read it into the record. Of course, I'll get the mover and seconder. I'll consult with them to see if they consent with the friendly amendment. So again, once we've done that, that is the final speaker, final amendment, and then we will find out how you wish to proceed with the resolution. Again, 10 draft resolutions that we've put together into one omnibus to speed up the process and get to as many resolutions as we can throughout today. Just checking up on the time. I don't even... So we have the next speaker that will be coming up will be at 1 o'clock, so we might be able to deal with one more emergency resolution before that speaker, and then again we have another 1-hour window that we will be dealing with later this afternoon. So here is the proposed amendment, and it's again for draft resolution number 7 under the operative clause number 4. Do I need to read the entire number 4? No. Oh. I'm going to read the entire number 4. So it would say, call on the AFN to ensure the Chiefs Committee on Indian Residential Schools will work to ensure that the federal government are involved and involved churches take active steps towards providing consistent and substantive supports to residential school survivors, families, and First Nations in their efforts of investigation, as well as comprehensive supports for the dynamic and evolving needs of survivors in their journey towards healing from the horrific trauma inflicted by the residential school system and memorializing the sites where First Nations children were recovered. Is that the proposed amendment? Okay, thank you. Mover, you're okay with it? Seconder? Thank you. Seconder, are you okay with the proposed amendment? I know, can't see. Sorry, seconder, are you okay? Okay, you're okay with it. So we've read it into the record. We have the resolution before you to accept. Thank you. I just have to take one more look. I do see a hand up, but I did close the list. The list was already closed. So what I will do is I'm going to ask the Zoom session, the poll to be opened. So technicians, please open the poll. Thank you. The poll is open. Chiefs, any opposition to the omnibus resolution before you? Second call. I'm just going to look. Any opposition? Okay, I see none. Any abstentions? Any abstentions to the resolution? I see none. Can I have the poll closed, please, on the Zoom session? And no abstentions, no opposition in the room or virtually. So with that, Chiefs, resolution is carried by consensus. Miigwech. We'll move right along to the next resolution.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for that, for your work. One thing, staff will be bringing a fruit snack for delegates, just to you to know that. And another thing, Regional Chief Antoine just suggested that it might be a good idea to have a closing prayer and closing words for this part of the day, and so very quick, but might be needed. So yeah, so thank you.
Masi, thank you for your openness. Thank you for working with your heart. I'll just do a prayer in my language. Creator, thank you for today. Thank you for the breath of life. There's a lot of things that our family have gone through. Thank you for keeping us alive and also helping us so that way we could be able to come back together, because we've been uprooted, displaced, and relocated. Creator, continue blessing us with our family, also the family leadership, and also our grandparents, our parents, our children, and also our grandchildren and the ones that are still yet to come. Continue to strengthen us, and I'd like to thank the 215 children for lifting us up to the world and also showing us that we need to uncover this devastation that we've endured, this imposition. And what we need to do, Creator, is to uncover ourselves, because we all have what we have already as the original nation of family. We need to also uncover our own governance, our relationship with the land, the relationship with ourselves, and the relationship with other people. Continue to strengthen our spirit, and thank you for having us recognize that we're all family. We need each other. Our children, like branches on a tree, we all grow in different directions, yet our root remains the same. Help us to continue strengthening that root that keeps us the same. Help us to be able to have the courage to be able to face the challenges, and we need to be together. So Creator, bless us with the work that we continue, so that way our children and the people that are behind us that are coming on can be able to live in a good way and to be free to be who they are. Bless us all. Merci.
Miigwech, Regional Chief Antoine, merci beaucoup pour ces mots qui nous permettent de conclure d'une bonne façon.
Thank you for these words that will allow us to conclude in a good fashion this very important and touching portion. So here we have...
Consult my co-chair. Okay, here is the plan. What I propose to, okay, first we have to be quite ready at like 2 minutes before 1, 3 minutes before 1, because at 1 p.m. we have Minister Lametti here on the stage. So we have 15 minutes maximum to deal with an emergency resolution, and we'll try to deal with this in max 15 minutes. So we'll do that right away. And we'll ask if technician team, if you can please put up on the screen the emergency resolution number 4, please. But and I will need to make sure also that the mover and the seconder are present in the room. Thank you very much for this. So emergency draft resolution number 4. This draft resolution is entitled Opposition to Bill C-21, Federal Gun Control Legislation, and it has been moved okay, just a second. Sorry. Whoa. A lot of papers and documents and computers on the table. Okay. Just for you to know, I am now looking to see the name of the mover and the seconder, but if you know that it's you and you're in the room, I would ask you to please come to microphone number 1 or 2, please. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Present your mover and seconder. Microphone number 1, please. If you can just present, state your name, chief proxy, specify this, your nation, and if you're mover seconder, please. Microphone number 1, please.
Good afternoon, Chief Russell Wesley, Cat Lake First Nation.
Are you the mover or the seconder, please? Just if you could just mention.
I'm the seconder. He's the mover.
Okay, thank you, mover. And yes, present yourself, please, seconder.
Proxy, Frank McKay, Quorum First Nations and Nishnabisca Nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please stay, don't go away. Okay, so this draft resolution number 4, emergency draft resolution number 4 has been moved and seconded. We will now go and read the therefore be it resolved, the section of this emergency draft resolution. So therefore be it resolved that the First Nations in Assembly, 1, publicly opposed to Bill C-21 and act to amend certain acts and to make certain consequential amendments, firearms, which potentially criminalizes long guns, rifles, used by First Nation peoples in exercising their Aboriginal and treaty rights to hunt and harvest. Next slide, please, if there is one. Yes. Number 2, call upon the Government of Canada to conduct proper and adequate consultation with First Nations as is required under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, prior to enacting laws that impact First Nation inherent constitutional and treaty rights to hunt and harvest. 3, direct the AFN to advocate for amendments to Bill C-21, including A, removing from the list of prohibited weapons the long guns commonly used by First Nation hunters in exercising their inherent Aboriginal, treaty, and constitutionally recognized rights contained in the adopted amendment to Bill C-21. B, amending the red flag and yellow flag provisions to ensure that First Nation inherent constitutional and treaty rights are respected, and clarify how the red flag and yellow flag provisions will apply to First Nation and First Nations citizens. C, creating an oversight mechanism to ensure that the Chief Firearms Officer consult with First Nations to ensure that orders do not restrict First Nations access to firearms commonly used in hunting. D, ensuring additional provisions to support First Nations police services and ensure that the resources they require to maintain law and order within their jurisdictions is provided, specifically in relation to root causes of gangs and gun violence. And E, ensuring additional provisions be implemented to support First Nations prevention programs for youth in relation to gang violence and illegal guns, as well as prevention programs targeting gender-based violence and violence against First Nations women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. Next one, if there is one, there isn't. So the emergency draft resolution number 4 has been moved, seconded, and read and put in, and entered into the record. We will now open the floor for discussion. And I will give the opportunity first to a mover. The mover has a max to 5 minutes to introduce and present his or her draft resolution number 4, emergency. So please open microphone number 1, please, for the mover. Thank you.
Miigwech, I was reminded by my elders and my hunter-gatherers people in my community that that this was an important issue to them. And I was reminded by them because I was reporting to them that Bill C-21 wasn't on the agenda at the AFN. While gun control is an important matter to deal with for Canadians, it is also important for Anishinaabe people because we have treaty clauses that ensure that we have hunting and fishing rights protected. To this day, my community, hunting is very important. It's a huge aspect of our survival. We're still a sustenance-based society. Long guns are important to my community. You know, this bill is just another demonstration of our First Nations constantly being attacked with respect to our rights, and we have to stand up against that. What's also important about this bill is it's a barrier to the programs that we run in the community, land-based programs. I say that because it's the land-based programs that we run are an integral part of healing for our youth, our women, and our people. And something like this is a barrier. You know, it also attacks the personal growth of our people, and we don't need that. So I wanted to put this emergency resolution to the floor for consideration, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I assume you're finished with your introduction, Mover? You just want to make sure that you were going to seconder. Thank you very much. So to the seconder on microphone number 1, please, 3 minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Frank McKay, Quorum First Nation proxy, Chinabisca Nation, Northern Ontario. You know, our people always lived off the land, and that's how we survived. How we're surviving now. We continue to practice our traditional activities in supporting our families and teaching our young ones and people to be able to protect the land and also use the land properly. We don't do sports hunting. We do this for sustenance. And the gentleman just pointed out to me that we need to add a word in there that says First Nations peoples in the first, in E, sustenance hunting is what we do. And this is protected by our treaty rights and protected under the Constitution. This is another example of the government trying to assimilate us into their society. We are First Nations people who were given this land, but we only agreed to share it. So it's another example of how Canada is always trying to rob us of those inherent rights that we got from the Creator. So we want to, support this another unilateral legislation that's being forced on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
yes.
And also I ask for a word to be inserted, sustenance hunting on E.
I'm sorry. Can you just please repeat where I can find your...
E, in whereas.
The whereas...
in E.
E, okay. And so you want to add...
sustenance hunting, the last word.
Sustenance hunting.
Yeah.
So, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So just for more clarity, and thank you very much for this, just before reading it, I'm just going to ask the mover, is the mover in agreement with your proposed amendment? So microphone number 1, please. Mover.
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. So the emergency draft resolution number 4 will have a little amendment on whereas E, and it reads like this. On November 24, 2022, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security met to do a class-by-class reading of Bill C-21, and shortly after amendments were introduced adding long guns, rifles, to the banned list, potentially criminalizing many of the types of firearms currently used by First Nations peoples for sustenance hunting. Thank you very, very much for this. Okay, now.
Minister's here, okay. So we've got 2 minutes.
Okay, so on this, what I'm going to do, Minister Lametti is here at 1. I'm closing the speakers list right now. No, I'm just to make sure. I'm closing the speakers list with the people at the microphone, so no worry, you're not. There's no one on the Zoom. So what we will do as chairs, how we will manage this, because we're like in the middle of something here, but we have a heartbreak. What we propose to respect you all and to give you the time, we'll do. We'll stop here, but I need help from someone here at AFN staff. I need help to come with a paper and a pen. I want to please note each microphone the list of chiefs and proxies at the microphone to respect the order of the chiefs and proxies at the microphone assembly, and we'll come back after, but just please. You all notice that the speakers list is finished, and we keep only chiefs at the microphone at this moment. Yes, microphone number 1, you want Chief White Duck?
Just to follow up on this, I'm glad that Mr. Lametti is here to hear these concerns about the Bill C-21.
Great.
And listen clear, listen loud, and as mentioned, these chiefs here and bringing in this emergency resolution for guns is very important, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Quebec caucus, but this was discussed in our caucus yesterday morning about this Bill C-21, and that we oppose it as well. And I want to thank these two chiefs for putting this emergency resolution, because it is very important for the collective, for all First Nations across Turtle Island and Canada. So. Just want to put those for the minutes and the records, and I want Mr. Lametti to hear this as well.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you very much. And please be assured you can sit down now. We noted, I have the confirmation that we noted the order at the microphone assembly. Thank you very much. Number 1, and we have number 2's coming. Okay, so you can be seated and feel comfortable that we will deal with you on emergency draft resolution number 4 right after. But if you're at the microphone assembly right now, this means that you are ready to ask a question to Minister Lametti right after he'll give his presentation. So just to be clear. Okay, so now I would like to invite Minister Lametti, he is already on the stage. Minister Lametti of the Honourable Minister Lametti, Department of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. He has 30 minutes maximum, so approx 20 minutes for the presentation. I got un peu moins, so maybe less, and the rest of the time, the remainder of the time, will be for question and answers. So to you, Minister Lametti, thank you very much.
Merci, Wina. Kwe, Sego, hello, bonjour. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today on the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. I want to acknowledge our host nation and region, Kitigan-Zibi and Chief Dylan White Duck, I just saw him a second ago, and Regional Chief Hare from the Chiefs of Ontario. To the elders here today, to National Chief Archibald and all members of the AFN Executive and Chiefs in Assembly, thank you for welcoming me today to your Special Chiefs Assembly. 7 years ago today, Prime Minister Trudeau stood before your Assembly and made a solemn statement to everyone gathered. It is time, he said, for a renewed nation-to-nation relationship with First Nations peoples, one that is based on the recognition of rights, respect, cooperation, and partnership. The Prime Minister pledged that we would work together as full partners while finding inspiration in the values of mutual respect, sharing, and kindness. I believe that we're working earnestly and in good faith to fulfill that pledge every day. Je crois à l'importance des étapes franchies ensemble.
I believe in the importance of the steps we've gone through together, and also recognize the road that we still need to go to reach reconciliation. We have accomplished very much on many issues, and the ones that I would like to discuss in the, from a justice perspective.
is our progress on implementing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Je crois sincèrement qu'il s'agit d'une étape essentielle.
I believe sincerely that this is an important step towards reconciliation that we will be able to measure the impact of for generations to come. The preamble of the United Nations, the law, recognizes that as a framework for the reconciliation and healing and peace.
The importance of respecting treaties and agreements. The preamble speaks to the rejection of all doctrines, including the doctrines of discovery and terra nullius, which were based on racist ideas of superiority. And it explicitly rejects colonialism in favor of relationships based on principles of justice, democracy, equality, non-discrimination, good governance, and respect for human rights. This language reflects what we heard from many Indigenous nations and organizations, and it informs our work to develop an action plan to achieve the objectives of the Declaration. We are now working in consultation and cooperation with Indigenous peoples to meet the June 2023 deadline for the action plan mandated in the Act. As you know, this past June, we released the first annual report outlining how we are moving from legislative commitments to tangible action. Our early efforts focused on providing funding to support the participation of Indigenous peoples, governing bodies, and their respective organizations in the process. This includes support for Indigenous-led consultations. I recognize that it has taken more time than we hoped for funding to reach recipients, but I'm pleased that this is being used by many First Nations communities and organizations to support your engagements about the Declaration and what it should mean for our collective future. Justice Canada continues to meet with Indigenous peoples, rights holders, including modern treaty signatories and self-governing nations, as well as representative organizations, knowledge keepers, youth, 2S LGBTQI+ people, and of course the Assembly of First Nations, the Inuit Tapiriti Kanatami, and the Métis National Council. We expect that all of this work will lead to an action plan that is truly focused on collaboration, one that sets out the measures needed for transformative change and that includes accountability measures over and above what is already provided for in the Act. We know the time frame for this work is tight, but we also recognize the wisdom of those who pushed for the 2-year timeline in order to ensure that we maintain our momentum in advancing this work. The action plan will be a tangible step on a nation-to-nation path that we are walking together. We look forward to strengthening our partnership with the AFN and with First Nations right holders across the country. This includes putting in place new processes and protocols that help us accomplish that together.
It's a process that recognizes and respects the inherent right to autodetermination and governance. It is also within our efforts to transform the relationship we have between the justice system and Indigenous people, including the reform of criminal justice and the First Nations legal framework.
Royal assent for Bill C-5. This critical legislation will help restore balance to criminal sentencing and make a difference in the lives of Indigenous people, of Black people, and of members of marginalized communities who come into contact with the criminal justice system. It eliminates certain minimum mandatory penalties that have a disproportionate impact on Indigenous people and others, and it makes conditional sentences more readily available. And it requires police and prosecutors to consider diverting simple drug possession cases rather than charging and prosecuting them. The result will be more just and effective outcomes for everyone. Judges will be able to look at the individual in front of them and seek to understand the circumstances that led them there and find ways to restore and rebuild rather than merely incarcerate and punish. All of us here in the room today know that the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in our justice system is shameful, and it's rooted in systemic racism and the history of colonialism. While this challenge is great, we are seeing tangible change. We see it in the expanding application of GLADU principles in the criminal justice system and in our ongoing negotiation of administration of justice agreements with First Nation communities. And we see it in our work to develop an Indigenous justice strategy, together with First Nations, Inuit and Métis partners, as well as provinces and territories. I'm pleased that the AFN is leading engagements with member nations on what this strategy could and should entail. I'm also grateful for the AFN's ongoing partnership in shaping and supporting the justice-led engagements, which are also currently underway. We have a significant task ahead of us. Over the next year and a half, we need to identify priority actions to effectively address systemic racism and overrepresentation in the criminal justice system, as well as other priorities that you are identifying or you will identify in that consultation process. Communities, knowledge keepers, and practitioners have identified many of these priorities through past inquiries and reports. Our focus now is determining what is most important to communities, both in terms of urgent reforms to the Canadian justice system, as well as how we can more effectively support the revitalizing and strengthening of Indigenous justice systems. We'll continue to explore how we can partner across governments and sectors to give life to these recommendations in practical ways. We will be following your lead, listening to you as you choose the most appropriate path forward to revitalize your justice systems. Je veux aussi mentionner notre travail pour
I would also like to mention another piece of work we're doing for how we will treat judicial mistakes. Unfair convictions happen. They often happen a long time after the legal process is done. It's my mandate to change the system and the way it works. There is work in place to create an independent committee to examine criminal justice to fix the current process.
On a report prepared in part by Justice Harry Laforme, who a number of you will know well. Nous avons aussi annoncé que nous allions.
We've also announced that we will create a new commission of justice in Canada. The commission has played an important role in fighting against racism in our justice system, and I hope to have things to announce on that shortly.
I want to note the important work of the Office of the Special Interlocutor for Missing Children and Unmarked Graves and Burial Sites associated with Indian residential schools. This is a difficult, complex, and emotional process, and all of us are fortunate to have a tremendous Indigenous leader in Kimberly Murray, who spoke to you on Tuesday. Her work is critical if we are to fully learn and acknowledge the truth and to support communities in finding healing and justice. The OSI has held 2 national gatherings to date in Edmonton and Winnipeg, with more planned across Canada over the next year and a half. These gatherings offer a forum for knowledge sharing on the barriers and best practices for searching, protecting, and preserving unmarked burials on former Indian residential grounds and associated sites. These will ultimately inform the legal reforms the independent special interlocutor will recommend to me, which in turn must align with the UN Declaration. I'm also grateful to all of you who are contributing thoughts and experiences as part of this process. I'm humbled by your strength and your courage in sharing your experiences. La réconciliation doit être plus que...
Reconciliation has to be more than words. It has to be action, based on the collaboration and trust. Reconciliation requires patience and good faith.
Colonialism does not happen in the life of a single government. It will go on long after I have departed from the political stage. But as we reflect on our progress, I hope you share my sense of optimism for the future. Know that reconciliation in all its broad definitions remains a deep commitment for our government and for me. We will continue to walk, I will continue to walk with you in respect and cooperation and to seize every opportunity to act in order to make lasting change. Thank you again for your friendship and your partnership. Miigwech, Neawan, thank you, merci.
This is for you.
Merci.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Minister Lametti. So we are now at the question. We will now have a question period. So we have almost 15 minutes. So for these 15 minutes, what I propose to first hear the three first chiefs at the microphone. So I will hear first microphone number 1, microphone number 2, and then the person behind you. So microphone number 1, and then we'll come back to Minister Lametti, if it's okay with you. And then we'll see at this time where we are with the time. So microphone number 1, please.
Well, I was here second, but Chief Lynn says, okay, go ahead. So just a quick question,
Can I just interrupt you and ask you to repeat your name again?
Oh, Chief Nelson Zanai, Sapatea Cree Nation, President of the Manitoba Treaty Land Tamil Committee of Manitoba. I filed a suit against Canada on TLE implementation, so you should know me very well. I told you in BC, we want our land back. We still haven't got our land back. Our natural resources are under attack. Our moose are under attack. How are we supposed to live? So that's the faith I have right now with the current government. It's not only with the red government, it's the blue government, it's the green government. It doesn't really matter. But when we enter into treaties, it's only for a death of a plow. And right now, our resources are being robbed. When is it going to stop? Give us the opportunity to do economic development, use our land, because that's what our ancestors wanted. So I'm asking you, in a good way, in a humble way, let's get the job done. That's all.
Thank you very, very much, Chief. Thank you very much. Microphone number 2, please, if you can state your name, First Nation. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Miigwech. Chief Lynn Acus from Saguenay Anishinaabe in Treaty 4 Territory, Saskatchewan. I want to raise the issue, Minister Lametti. Thank you so much for being here today and taking our questions. On Bill 1 in Alberta and Bill 88 in Saskatchewan, two very concerning developments for us treaty nations in Treaty 4 territory and other treaty areas in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Our treaty, I'm the spokesperson for the Treaty 4 Council of Chiefs, and our treaty territory extends from Medicine Hat in Alberta, down the southern part of Alberta. It curves up through the prairies, and then it curves further up into Manitoba, past the Riding Mountains, up to Chief Nelson's reserve, as well as Waskwisi Peak in the woodlands, in the forest. So our territory goes across 3 provinces, and it borders the U.S. We are very concerned about the passage of these 2 provincial acts, these 2 pieces of legislation. Not only does it contravene your principles of democracy, not only is it constitutionally questionable, but it will also hinder your government's ability to implement UNDRIP on the ground in our communities. If you allow the provinces, which are newcomer governments in our territory, our nations we had a great alliance that looked after the people, looked after trade, looked after governance in our territory prior to treaty. We signed treaty, and that pre-exists the government of Saskatchewan. And so this is a clear breach of treaty, a clear breach of your principles in UNDRIP. And I want to know, what does the federal government plan to do about these two pieces of legislation coming out of Alberta and Saskatchewan? Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Chief. So our last speaker for this block of speakers, microphone number 1. And just before, I just want to remind you that it's not because you are at the microphone that it is not a guarantee that we'll have time to go to you, but we'll try our best to hear you, the most of you. So microphone number 1, please, 3 minutes maximum.
Darren Blaney, Chief of Hamalco First Nations. I'm here to speak about the cost of defending our rights in the courts. The court system is very expensive for many impoverished nations that have been economically marginalized. And when we have to contend with a federal court judge in a fish farm case, they denied Hamalco and Tla'amin the right to go be heard in that court case when the consultation in that case was regarding Hamalco and Tla'amin. The federal court judge that was sitting was a real estate lawyer, had no knowledge of Aboriginal rights, and denied us being heard. And so that cost us, between us, $600,000. So we have to spend money on uninformed judges. And then there's the cost of corporations that do legal mischief when they throwing all kinds of motions on the table so that they can empty out your account. That doesn't give us the opportunity to defend our rights. If our rights are enshrined in the Constitution of Canada, are protected, how do we defend them in an expensive court system? Thank you.
Miigwech, thank you very, very much, Chief. So I will now turn the floor over to Minister Lametti for his feedback answers. So your microphone should be on. Is it? Can you please, technician, open Minister Lametti on the stage microphone?
Are we good? Okay, we're good now.
Okay,
perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. First, Chief Nelson. We, over 200 years, have not been good on land, have not been good on treaties, have not been good on resources, and I'll be the first to admit it, and we need to do better. I think we're trying to go in the right direction, but stripping away all those years of colonialism will take time, and there will be steps. I think UNDRIP helps a great deal in transforming the attitude that we need moving forward, and in particular with respect to resource use and resource development, where free, prior and informed consent will be required. But I know that working with Minister Miller, he takes the land question seriously, I take the land question seriously, and we are going to push forward as best we can. I know I'm asking for patience, and we don't deserve patience at this stage, but that is the best I can do right now. But I hear you. Chief Akis, I can't as Attorney General, I shouldn't comment about provincial legislation and federal government strategy other than to echo what the Prime Minister said, which is, and what I have done in various other cases, which is to say to you, I'm watching very carefully how those laws will be implemented. You can be certain that as Attorney General, I will defend federal jurisdiction and federal legislation that is affected by that, including UNDRIP, and I will be very vigilant about that. I will just point out, as a matter of fact, that nothing in those laws take away from Section 35 rights that you have under the Constitution, whether they be treaty rights or whether they be inherent rights that you have as Indigenous peoples. And so That's important for people to remember, and I hope that gives you confidence. And I will be vigilant also about the division of powers and that the Constitution be respected with respect to federal areas of jurisdiction. So expect me to be vigilant in that regard. Chief Blaney, the cost and the Homolko Nation, the cost of defending rights in courts is too high. I know that, and it does create injustices. We are trying to take steps to make the system better. My predecessor, Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould, instituted a litigation directive for federal government lawyers, which we are working hard to implement on a case-by-case basis, on a decision-by-decision basis, and that's been a source of inspiration, I think, for all of us. But we do need to find other ways to reduce harsh practice and to keep costs down, and I'm willing to work with you, as well as with the provinces in that regard, with respect to the cost of administration of justice.
Thank you very much. Microphone. Thank you very, very much. Okay, here we are. We still have time to one last chiefs at the microphone, so we'll get to microphone number 2. And please state your name and First Nation, and then we'll go back to Minister Lametti, and if we have time for one more, we'll see, but I don't guarantee it. Thank you very much. Microphone number 2, 3 minutes.
Byron Lewis, Chief of the Okanagan Band. I have 2 points. The first one is I'm glad to hear what you talked about, the division of powers amongst federal government under Section 91 and provincial powers, Section 92, that allows for provincial management of resources. And one of the court cases was Sparrow that was very clear that said while provinces have the right to infringe upon an Aboriginal right, that infringement must be justified. And also it was very clear in the court case that they said that provinces under Section 92 do not have the authority to extinguish a right. Now you have in British Columbia, as just one example, is with the southern mountain caribou, where they've had 3 subpopulations that are now extinct. And the extinction of a species equals the extinguishment of a right. So the province under Section 92 has leaped right over consultation and accommodation and went immediately to the extinguishment of our rights. Now, with that as being a delegated power, that means that the federal government is ultimately responsible for that because that delegation happened under the Constitution. Now, what we need to do is having a serious talk about this is basically it's got to be movement towards that. What exactly does that entail when you have provincial authority extinguishing an Aboriginal right that constitutionally has no power or jurisdiction to do? So I think that's something that really needs to be discussed, because in the province of British Columbia, you have 13 of the 14 Chinook stocks requiring some type of listing or protection, and some of them are on the verge of extinction. And you're talking about very valuable species. Now, let's go right across the country where you see, the same thing that led to the extinction of the subpopulations of caribou was logging practices of subalpine, but you could use that in the boreal forests anywhere in Canada, and you'd look and see what was actually happening. Then you have on top of that is global warming. Recently in the Nikas River, they lost 65,000 pink salmon due to low water temperatures and low volume. So what you're talking about is you're leading up to a court case that's going to be in of amounts that are not in the hundreds of millions, but potentially in the billions of dollars. And we want to know is, when are you ready to have that discussion?
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you very, very much. And I'm looking at the time, and what I propose, Minister Lametti, I hope you won't hate me for life after that, but I propose to take one last Chief, at the microphone, and then turn the floor over to you for final comments. Is it okay? Okay, so the last speaker at microphone number 1, please, for 3 minutes maximum. And I'm sorry for the other. We won't take any other chief. I know that a lot of questions, but we're time limited here. So microphone number 1, please. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Wajir, good morning. I think you should allow more time for questions. I know that you know about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It talks about the family of man, but as Indigenous peoples, we are excluded from that Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That is why we needed UNDRIP. But there have been 3 versions of UNDRIP, and in 2007, Canada and other states hijacked our UNDRIP, and you created your own UNDRIP, and that is the basis of your CANDRIP, that bad law in Canada. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, what does Article 46 mean to you? Where it talks about territorial integrity and it talks about political unity. Is it talking about Canada's territorial integrity, that you own what you call present-day Canada? And when you talk about political unity, does that mean all the peoples, all of us that are here, are part of that political unity called Canada? What about our territorial integrity over our homeland? What about our political unity of our nations that signed Treaty 9? I'm from the Treaty 9 area. My name is Mike Morris. I'm the proxy for Obika First Nation. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Chief. So I now turn the floor over to Minister Lametti for final comments. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Chief Lewis, I was a clerk at the Supreme Court when Sparrow was written, and so it brings back, I think, generally positive memories, and I taught it for many years when I was a law professor. We do have to have that discussion. I think the Prime Minister has signaled that even in the last few days with respect to the environment and making sure that there's dialogue with Indigenous peoples and Indigenous conservation methods. Because you're correct, we're talking about iconic species like salmon and caribou that are not just, frankly, not just important because they're important economically, but they're important because they're life, and they're important because of the traditional and ceremonial roles that they play in your daily lives in very different ways and forms. So, and the impact of economic activity like logging, for example, on those iconic species and on your way of life. So we do need to have that discussion. I think it's going in the right direction. I put a lot of stock in not so much UNDRIP as I do put a lot of stock in UNDRIP as a document, but I put more stock in the process around UNDRIP that we're going through right now, and each time it's getting better with respect to cooperation, co-development, collaboration, and we're building networks and structures that allow us to actually walk the path together for the first time in 200 years. And I'm not saying we got it right, but I am saying that at every step it's getting better. And so I'm optimistic, and yes, I agree we need to have that discussion. Same thing for Mr. Morris from Treaty 9. We're all here, and territorial integrity is your territorial integrity, but Canada is here too, and same thing with respect to political unity. We're in these lands. There are different names that you have, and different political unities that you have, different nations and different peoples, but Canada is here too, and I think UNDRIP allows us to walk that path together, so that there are different ways to define oneself, and your nation will be the way in which you define yourself. And there will be others who are walking the path who define themselves as Canadian. And I think that's not just the only way forward, the only reasonable way forward, but I think it's the only way forward. And we have to, for the first time, using UNDRIP as a guide, but not the only guide, using common sense and empathy and dialogue as a guide, we need for the first time, I think, to walk the path together. I think that's what the two wampum and the two-row wampum and other guides have tried to push us to in the past, and we haven't done it well. We need to get better at it quickly, and I hope that we can succeed, because I don't think we have a choice. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much, Minister Lametti, for your time and presence here. Very much appreciated. So on this, I will wish you a great day. Thank you. And these are your notes.
You just have to tell them what's in the gift.
Oh, okay.
Minister Lametti, we're giving out unique gifts this year, so I just wanted you to know what's in the gift bag. It's Awazib pure maple syrup from the Algonquin Territory. There's also Miragamam Coyote also from this area. Corn soup and bannock mix from an indigenous company called Mahadoki. And there are baby moccasins, little moccasins made by Hilda Francis, so you always remember our little ones. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, National Chief, for this description. I'm a bit jealous. What about you? Okay, so thank you very much, Minister Lametti.